Hey everyone, it's Scott Hansen from NFL Red Zone reminding you to watch Sports Ballers, the podcast that gets you caught up on everything Washington sports and beyond.
Hello and welcome to the latest edition of the Sports Ballers podcast. I'm Evan Ash, joined as always by Cory Puffett and Eric Meyer. So today on the show, we got a lot of football to talk about. The NFL had the trade deadline yesterday. There's a lot going on in college football. There's a bunch of foolishness in the NBA, as usual. And, of course, there's the World Series. But we will start with one of our very own. Cory Puffett was inducted into the DeMatha Hall of Fame on Sunday afternoon. This is spectacular. I'm excited. I think I'm more excited than you are. Like, this is amazing. I know somebody who's in a Hall of Fame that I, technically qualify for, but am not going to make. That's great. What else do you have to say?
I don't really have a whole lot else to say that I didn't say during the induction on Sunday. Speaking of which, the videos of the induction speeches are now up on YouTube. So I was pulling double duty. I also was filming the ceremony. Now, I had a student who was there keeping an eye on the computer. He didn't do it right, by the way.
Oh, jeez.
This is why I never say no to things, because I know that if I don't do it myself, it's not going to be done right, because nobody knows how to do this stuff. Even when I give detailed instructions, like, I could be wrong about what I pointed out on the screen, but I went back and double checked the email I sent to him, and I gave him the right instructions, and he couldn't follow those. So,
okay. I know you are bad at giving directions.
In any case, I got all the videos edited and they're posted up online. So if you're interested in seeing my speech, it's on DM Stags TV. And they'll probably send it out in tomorrow's DeMatha Express. But really the only thing that I kind of had to cut from my speech because of time, and I did say at the beginning of the speech, you can thank a certain team that won a championship the day before for me going over my time, but was... I was going to thank the two of you as well as Sean Kennedy for being there. Evan was one of my first real friends on the cross-country team. Eric, of course, my best man at my wedding. Both of you guys co-host with me on this very podcast. Sean, one of my best friends from my graduating class. So I really appreciated you guys being there and giving up a football Sunday to be there and celebrate with me.
It was a rather weak football Sunday, though.
Not for me.
Not for your fantasy team, which, that's great. Yeah, I was thinking the whole time I was sitting there, I was like, this is pretty cool. I was like, how do I get into the Hall of Fame? And I was like, I can't. I'm not adequate for the Hall of Fame. I don't have
to run for president or something.
I don't have a high school pedigree. Certainly they could match what Cory did as a cross country runner, and I don't work there now, so not going to make it as a teacher, and I don't really want to anyway, so, So it's like, I guess I got to do something spectacular as like a distinguished alum or something like that. And so maybe if we get this podcast to have more than 4 listeners, we could all just go back in the Hall of Fame together and be like, the Sports Ballers are getting inducted in like 20 years or something like that. That would be pretty cool. That'd be something else. But yeah, it was a cool ceremony. Like I said, I said it on Sunday. I was glad to be there just because I don't think a lot of people really get an opportunity to be in attendance for something like that, because it was the 3 of us were your guests, and then it was your parents, Rashonda, and
my coaches.
Yeah, and your coaches. So that's like, 8 people?
Yeah.
Like, if that's in your inner circle that was able to go. I don't have anybody else like that that's dialed up to be inducted into some type of Hall of Fame like that. So being a part of that was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean you can buy tickets to go as just like an outside person, and some people do that, but like
that's not the same.
Like it's not the same if you aren't going to see somebody that inducted. So no, it really meant a lot to me to have you guys there.
It was a full DeMatha weekend for both of us. Calling the football game on Friday.
Yeah,
I got to experience my first cross country meet, which was quite something. As I'm pulling up, and I'm like, people are just zooming around everywhere, and I'm like, none of these people are wearing uniforms. Why are they running? Where are the actual athletes? I don't understand. And then so I pull up, like we're driving down this road that looks like it's been bombed out. There's divots everywhere.
Yeah, like, that road is in bad shape.
I'm going to need a new front end alignment by the time I get to wherever I'm supposed to park. And then I park all the way over where the people park the buses and stuff, which was like a quarter mile away from everybody else. And then I just start walking towards where I saw some sort of civilization. And suddenly I hear, "What's up, Eric?" come from my right. And I'm like, oh, there's Cory. And he's just running somewhere. And I'm like, I responded, "What the hell is going on?" I was like, what have I gotten myself into? You're like, freshman race. I'm like, that doesn't help. That didn't help at all. I'm like, I don't see any freshmen. Where are the freshmen? They were like over there somewhere. And I'm like, I was just so confused. But it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm glad you were able to make it out.
Yeah, Ant told me on Friday when we saw him after the game.
Yeah,
he said, "Yeah, it's a surprisingly good spectator sport."
Especially like that was a particularly good spectator course too.
Yeah.
Like it was 2 laps, and you could see a lot of like the beginning of each lap as well as a lot of the end of each lap. Like the only part that like you couldn't see unless you were fast enough to get out there was the far end of the course. Yeah. Which like I went all the way out there on the first lap and was able to make it back. I wasn't going to do that for the second lap because I knew I wasn't going to make it back to the finish in time to see them.
Yeah, it was definitely a really cool experience. Watching all these young people looking miserable as they run around, and I'm just standing there saying, "Hey, way to go!" Just clapping along. But glad DeMatha got the W.
That was really cool.
Big W.
Yeah. So first WCAC Championship for the cross country team since 2006, which was my freshman year.
I remember because I was there.
Yes, and Evan was on that team.
Did you run that day, Evan?
I did run that day.
Okay.
Yeah, he ran that day.
Okay, because I know that you only ran 7 runners, right?
Well, in varsity, but like you also have a JV race and a freshman race. So
right.
Evan was in that varsity B race. But yeah, I mean it was really exciting, and it was tight. We Gonzaga finished first and second, and then we finished third and fourth, and then they finished like 7th, and we finished 8th, and they finished 9th, and we finished 10th. So after 4 runners, we were losing by 6 points with 1 more scorer for each team to go. So we either needed our 5th guy to beat their 5th guy by 6 spots and have our 6th man beat their 6th man for the tiebreaker, or we needed our 5th man to beat their 5th man by 7 spots to win outright, and he wound up beating him by 9 spots, so we won by 3 points.
Yeah, I was a little concerned when I guess the 3rd and 4th from DeMatha and Gonzaga were kind of neck and neck with each other.
But Gonzaga got us on both counts.
Yeah, but there was a period where their 4th and DeMatha's 3rd were like kind of like going back and forth, and it looked like DeMatha's guy had the lead as it was closing down, and then I saw Gonzaga's dude pass him just a couple, maybe like 50 yards from the finish line or so, and so I turned my back on it thinking, oh, well, damn it, that's going the wrong way. That guy's picking up steam, and apparently I turned away too soon because I guess DeMatha's guy was able to get back on top there.
Yeah.
Because then I'm starting to count, okay, we need 8 guys or something like that, and we only needed 6. And I was like, is that 8? I couldn't remember in my head. I was like, it might have been. I don't know. It was really close. But if you had told me that you only needed 6 at that point, I would be like, oh, yeah, you guys are good. Because I was keeping pretty close track of it because I was super into it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is like I didn't know if our 6th was going to beat their 6th. As it turned out, our 6th beat their 5th.
Yeah.
So like we did just enough to pull that out. I mean, it was really exciting. When we won in 2006, we beat Gonzaga by 6 points. And I think that's like the next lowest differential in the past 20 years. So like our 2 championships have been the closest ones. And like we needed our guys to be at their best, and they were on Saturday. Like that was really impressive.
Yeah, and shout out to St. John's girls team. My goodness, that was
they're dominant.
I was just sitting there at the finish line.
Creepy there.
And I'm not trying to be creepy, Evan. I'm talking about athletes here. I mean, jeez.
Oh, okay.
But they
sounds creepy to me.
They were dominant on Saturday.
Yeah, like 5 of them in a row just crossed the finish line, like the top 8. I was like, that team's gonna win. I was watching that.
That was done.
Oh, St. John. I was like, okay, they won. I think they won by like 61 points. I think second place had 89 and they had 28. I was like, that's a beatdown.
Yeah.
Oh, toasted up.
Yes.
Going back to Cory being inducted into the Hall of Fame, Cory refuses to toot his own horn, so I will. You failed to mention why you got into the Hall of Fame.
Oh.
Right? I was just out here running around and stuff. Whatever. No, you're the best runner in the school's history, by a mile, if you pardon the pun. It's just spectacular. I'll never forget. Your first race was my first race, and we're supposed to run 3 laps around a field at Walter Johnson High School, and I'm finishing up my second lap, and I'm gasping for air, wondering what I have signed myself up for, and all of a sudden I was just passed by the giggling freshman phenom who thought it was so funny that he was lapping somebody from his own team, and oh my goodness. So yeah, that happened. I was your teammate nominally. I was out there. We had the same uniform on, but in terms of
I ran with you in practice. I ran with you in some practices.
Yes, and I don't think Shaper was too happy about that. Honestly, it's like
I think it worked out just fine for me.
Yeah, but yeah, Cory's amazing. He's done a great job coaching this team. Obviously, there's hardware to back it up. He's won a championship as an athlete himself. There's hardware to back that up, even though we don't know where that is. So, shout out to Cory for doing a great job at a bunch of stuff. There you go. The Hall of Famer.
Well, thank you.
You need to sign your name HOF at the end every time. Number 1.
Thank you, Evan.
Okay. Let's see. That's all I want to do from the other. Oh boy. Let's do college football, I guess. So the first college football playoff rankings came out last night, and the top 10 are Tennessee, Ohio State, Georgia, Clemson, Michigan, Alabama, TCU, Oregon, USC, and LSU.
Now, is that 1 through 10 in order?
Yes.
Tennessee is number 1?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Wow. Good for them.
I am concerned. And because it's this. So on this coming Saturday, number 1 Tennessee is going to be playing at number 3 Georgia at 3:30 on CBS.
And College Game Day will be there.
College Game Day will be there, and Tennessee just has a pedigree of blowing it, right? So, like, if Tennessee is the higher-ranked team, then I feel like that gives them a better opportunity to blow it. And then, of course, Georgia has the...
How many times in recent memory, though, has Tennessee football been in a position to blow anything?
I mean, not a whole lot. They've been churning through some coaches.
So this is a very different team than what it was the last time they had an opportunity to blow it.
Yeah, I feel like the vibes are different. Like, once you beat Bama, I think that kind of that changes the outlook. It has to, because they couldn't do that before, so...
Yeah.
Now, you could still obviously say, like, this has the makings of a letdown game because they did just beat Bama, and they could, be riding a high off of that. But it's not like Georgia is not ranked really highly. Like, Georgia's ranked 3rd. Tennessee's not going to overlook them.
Georgia's better than Tennessee.
Probably.
Like,
yeah.
I
feel
find
like
that
Georgia's going to
disputable.
play the disrespect card because Georgia was number 1 in the AP last week.
But the
And
point
then
is just that
all of a
Tennessee's
sudden-
not going to be overlooking Georgia
Well, you better not
after
be.
beating Alabama.
No, they're not going to overlook them. They just might lose because Georgia's better. I
Yeah.
mean, that's
not a letdown
place.
inherently.
well, it is for Evan because Evan's
yes,
rooting for
that's-
Georgia to fail.
That's true.
Yes. Yeah,
And,
but
that might not work out
I
so
root
well.
for my team. That's my, Georgia Tech's my number one college football fandom. But then
And
number two is whoever's playing Georgia.
Yep.
So that happens to be Tennessee this week. So
There you go.
go Vols. Oh, my goodness. I'm not going to be able to watch that.
I feel so bad for anybody that has to put themselves in position to root for the Vols.
Yeah.
Like, that's unenviable to say the least.
No, because, one of the reasons why Tennessee hasn't been in position to blow it lately is because they've blown it so much, right? They give up bombs to Florida on 4th down and stuff as time expires. But anyway, a game earlier in the day is, of course, Big Noon Saturday with Texas Tech and number 7 TCU squaring off in Fort Worth. I might miss that one. Then also in the evening, we've got number 6 Alabama at shocking number 10 LSU. Right, this is Brian Kelly's LSU team. Remember his fake accent and stuff that he put on when he was first hired? Apparently that's working. So they're ranked number 10 out of nowhere. That game's at 7 o'clock on ESPN.
They feel like frauds.
You think they're frauds?
I think they're frauds, yeah.
Oh, yeah, so do I.
Who have they beaten?
I don't know.
Who's on their
Nobody.
resume?
Yeah, I can look, but
It's also worth noting that typically in recent history, the first CFP rankings of the season and the second CFP rankings of the season, there's usually a pretty big discrepancies between them.
We talked about it last week. The first one's always a look at me ranking. I mean, these are ridiculous. Tennessee shouldn't be ranked ahead of either Ohio State or Georgia. Clemson has no business being ranked ahead of Michigan, and yet they are. And I just looked at it and was like, huh.
And you just said LSU probably shouldn't be ranked in the top 10.
Yeah, I shrugged my shoulders and said, whatever. This is how it works every year. People get worked up. I saw people on the tweets getting all fired up about it. I was like, this is what they want. Because this is sort of a period where college football right now, we're not quite to conference championships or rivalry week. We've got some big games, obviously Georgia and Tennessee. But typically early November, that's not always the most exciting time of year. It's like
this is Alabama LSU week, right? Like it's always this week.
Yeah, but LSU isn't always have a shiny 10 next to their name. Like last year, they were terrible. The year before that, they were terrible. So,
And this year, they're still not really that good.
yeah, they're frauds. So, Bama's going to blow them out.
Eric.
Tide's going to roll. In
Oh,
Baton
of
Rouge.
course. Oh,
No
yeah.
questions
So
asked.
I've got LSU's schedule up here. They have wins against Southern, Mississippi State, New Mexico, Auburn, Florida,
Auburn just fired their coach.
Ole Miss. Yeah, Ole Miss, who was ranked number 7.
So basically, they're here because they
that's it.
beat Lane Kiffin.
Yes,
Okay, congratulations.
but then their losses. They lost to Florida State in week 1.
Yes, I remember.
They got rolled by Tennessee, of course. And yeah, those are their 2 losses, but they're going to lose this week. So that's it.
You get housed this week.
Yeah. In their own building at night. That's got to be embarrassing. I'm sure people paid a lot of money to go to that and are going to be disappointed. Also ranked versus ranked this week. We got 24 Texas at 13 Kansas State. Also at 7 o'clock on Fox Sports 1. And 21 Wake Forest at 22 NC State. And I forgot to write down when and where that game is. It's an evening game on one of the networks. So I guess while one of y'all can look that up, I'll say Georgia Tech is at Virginia Tech at 12:30 on ESPN 3. So check your local listings wherever that happens to be. And
Usually that's streaming.
yeah, streaming somewhere, but it might be blacked out and whatnot. And Virginia Tech is favored by 3 points. Virginia Tech worse than Georgia Tech in the ACC standings right now, which is not what you want.
No, it does not. Terps at Wisconsin this week. Talia Tagovailoa will be starting for Maryland, so that should be a pretty good game too. I hate Wisconsin football though.
Oh yeah.
God.
What if the Terps roll them? I'm rooting for that.
I want Wisconsin and Iowa to, no offense to people who root for Iowa here, to lose every game by 50 points just so they can actually enter the 21st century of football.
Oh,
like, please.
Okay.
I can't watch run the ball up the middle every play. I can't do it.
Yeah, the forward pass was invented.
Yeah, didn't you know?
That Wake Forest NC State game's on ACC Network at 8 p.m. on Saturday. Alrighty. Quick World Series update, unless y'all have something else to say. The Phillies lead the Astros 2-1 in the World Series, and Game 4 probably just started. It's currently 8:20 p.m. on Wednesday night. So, Lance McCullers Jr. got lit up. He only gave up 7 runs, just bombs left and right, and then acted surprised as the ball zoomed over the fence. Like, really? You're not that good, bro. So, Eric, what do you think? Did you sit down and watch all this game?
Not really. I watched Bryce Harper hit an absolute bomb in the first inning, and I said, well, that's the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, it was over from that point. I was like, it's 2-0, and it's Lance McCullers, and
who wound up giving an MLB record, giving up an MLB record, 5 home runs in a single postseason appearance.
Yeah, there's some talk about maybe McCullers was tipping his pitches because the video that's going around the interwebs right now is after Harper hit his home run, he went back to the dugout and called Alec Boehm over to him and told him something, and then Boehm goes up there and hits a bomb. And then some people broke down the footage of differential in the leg kick for certain pitches that McCullers was using. And so it's possible he may have been tipping his pitches, which if you're a good pitcher, don't do that, right? Like, I never tipped my pitches, and I wasn't a major league pitcher. So I feel like major league pitchers should know better than to alter their mechanics in certain situations. Not to mention Lance McCullers, as Evan astutely stated, just isn't that good of a pitcher, and frankly, he can't pitch again if the Astros want to win the World Series. Like, he can't come out of the bullpen. There's no way he's going to start again just because all the games are back-to-back and he'd have to be on short rest anyway. But no calling him from the pen in the 6th inning because the starter didn't pitch well. No, he can't pitch. He's terrible. He's an instant loss. Don't put him out there. But
just go ahead and cut him.
He might be in danger.
Option him. Is it too late to option players?
I don't think you can option players out of the World Series roster.
There's nowhere to send them to. Like, there's no...
Couldn't you technically send him down to AAA even though the season is over?
I'm sure you could kick somebody off of the World Series roster if you want, but
yeah,
I don't think you can replace them.
Yeah, that would be a bad look. My concern for the Astros, and I tend not to have a whole lot of concern for the Astros in general because we don't really like the Astros on this podcast. We don't really like the Phillies either, but
I like them more than the Astros right now.
It feels like I have a sneaking, uncomfortable feeling that the Astros lost this series in Game 1. Like, that is my feeling. We said it before. You don't want to go to Philly 1-1 because that place in the World Series, with the way they're playing, with those fans, the way they act, and how fired up they get, you will be lucky to leave the stadium alive, let alone with a win. So now they've got to get one in order to get it back to Houston, and even if they do, they'll be down 3-2 unless they take Game 4 and Game 5. And frankly, they had Game 1 won
in the bag,
dead to rights. And love Dusty Baker, but he's got a reputation for not always making the right moves in the playoffs. And frankly, they were up 5-0. You've got the notoriously worst pitcher of his stature in the history of the World Series in Justin Verlander. He is a horrendous World Series pitcher. Always has been. I don't think he's ever won a game in the World Series.
He's like 0-8.
And he's been in quite a few. And he normally gets shelled. And you're up 5 runs, and he's somehow worked his way not super deep into the game, but deep enough given the fact that the Astros have a tremendous bullpen. And he gives up 3 runs, I think in the 4th inning. So now it's 5-3. At that point, he's got to come out of the game. You cannot send him out there for another inning because he is going to blow it. He absolutely, yeah. And sure enough, Dusty sends him back out there. He gives up 2 more runs. The game's tied, and they end up losing in extra innings. Shout out to Nick Castellanos, the worst defensive player maybe ever in right field, making a tremendous sliding catch to save the day because the Astros would have scored the game-winning run if that falls in. Credit to him, but still, the game felt like it was lost when Verlander stayed in the game because sure enough, the Astros bullpen didn't give up a run until the 10th. Mm-hmm. And so if they just needed to hold that lead, if they had it, they would have held it in all likelihood, and they weren't given the opportunity to because Verlander blew it, and now it's 2-1. Now you're in serious trouble because Aaron Nola's on the hill. Aaron Nola led pitchers, I should say, in wins above replacement this year. He's really good. The Phillies are an absolute wagon right now. Like, this is not a team that you want to trifle with being down 2-1. We saw how it worked out for the Padres. They were down 2-1. They even had a shot to win Game 4, blew it. It's not a place to win the postseason. That place is an absolute madhouse, and they are not going to stop until either everybody is dead or they win the World Series. Whatever happens first.
Okay.
If everybody's dead, do they win the World Series by default?
That's a good question.
Probably. They're already ahead.
They are ahead, but you got to win 4.
Yeah, I don't think this works the same way as a rain delay that just continues after 5 innings.
To not get too morbid, I'm pretty sure there are contingency plans for if a whole team dies, like if the plane crashes or something like that. And it's really, really weird and unfortunate, and generally people are just we don't want to think about that for obvious reasons, but it does not involve just canceling the season, no. And it certainly doesn't involve awarding a World Series to a team that only won 2 games.
We'll say the Pirates won the first World Series
the
5
Yankees
games
get
to
to finish
3.
out the series.
So
the Yankees come in, and
Yankees
it's they're already down 2-1, or they're down 3-1.
I mean, the Yankees wouldn't be able to beat this Phillies team either.
Probably not. Like you said, the Phillies are a wagon.
They're an absolute wagon. And also, shout out to the fact that Bryce Harper is able to participate in the World Series. And the reason he's able to participate is because he can play designated hitter. For those who aren't aware, Bryce Harper has a torn UCL, which means he can't throw. That's the same injury that requires Tommy John surgery for pitchers, which means he hasn't been able to play in the outfield, which means he wouldn't have been able to play at all if he didn't have the DH option. And now he's out here hitting bombs instead of watching Aaron Nola take 3 pitches and sit out. So,
Yeah. Love it. All right. I guess we're going to continue with you, Eric. In the NBA, this idiot Kyrie Irving, just go.
I think that's the exact word that Shaquille O'Neal used to describe him this week.
Called him an idiot. Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I use some more colorful language
I could
on
put
Twitter.
in an adverb in front of idiot.
You could,
I guess, but
might not also fly on this podcast, according to the arbiters of appropriate language, which is us.
Yeah. But it gets my point across, though.
It does, but we'd
That's
have
the
to go
Duke education right there.
Yeah. So this doesn't feel like it's strictly my thing because you guys could certainly chime in and understand the situation at least to some degree. Because I frankly didn't have much interest in digging into whatever the hell Kyrie Irving was trying to have people watch. I do follow Kyrie on Twitter mostly because I've watched the NBA, and Kyrie is a significant figure in the NBA, whether it's because of his basketball abilities or his lack of functioning brain. This is where we're talking about the latter, unfortunately. So he shared this, I believe it was called Hebrews to Negroes. It's a lengthy movie that can be found on Amazon. I'm absolutely not promoting it by any means, but things like 3.5 hours. So I don't believe Kyrie Irving watched this. Not for a minute. There's no way this goofball sat down and watched a 3.5 hour faux documentary with apparently that is absolutely laced with anti-Semitic tropes and conspiracy theories about Jewish people that obviously aren't going to fly in anything resembling a decent society, which, got some questions about the way America operates, but we at least pretend to be that. And certainly the guys on this podcast support the notion of treating people with decency, and firing off anti-Semitic tropes is not decent. And so Kyrie, of course, doesn't actually know anything about anything, but he pretends to know everything, which is just the most infuriating type of idiot in the world. Like the people that feel like they can talk when they haven't earned any knowledge for themselves. Like that's the stuff that frustrates me, because
I can respect an idiot who understands that they have no knowledge about a certain subject and just says, yeah, I don't know anything about that, so I'm not going to comment on it.
Well, that's what smart people do. Smart people know they don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
Like that doesn't make you an idiot. That might make, like, you might be ignorant of certain things, but at least you're aware of your ignorance.
And so people that are intelligent, a lot of people associate it with like natural ability, gifted, things like that. But that's not really accurate all the time. In fact, it's usually not the case. People that are highly intelligent in specific fields, they earned that knowledge by researching and studying and immersing themselves in that field, making sure they know as much as possible. There is a level of discipline and hard work that comes with that kind of knowledge and intelligence, and frankly, I find it disrespectful to people who put that time in, who understand the severity of these type of tropes, who understand what this means and the history behind it, to have some clown basketball player who is as unserious as it gets demand to be taken seriously on these issues and act as arrogantly as Kyrie did when Nick Friedel, ESPN's reporter who's been tapped to work for the Nets basically this year, and I think last year as well, didn't let Kyrie off the mat when asking him about this ridiculous movie that he decided to share. And Kyrie decided in two separate thoughts within the span of like 90 seconds of each other, he straight up said, I've got a responsibility because I've got a big platform and I've got a lot of influence. And then later on said, I'm just a basketball player. Don't talk to me like I have some big influence. He literally said opposing things within the span of like 2 minutes in the same press conference, showing that this guy will just say anything to try to win the argument, even though he doesn't know jack squat.
Yep. No, that's exactly what he does.
I mean, and again, this is serious. But when it was the flat Earth stuff, you could say, okay, yes, there is something wrong and something legitimately damaging about anti-intellectualism, anti-science type of behavior because of where it leads. And then we move on to the next thing with the anti-vax thing.
This is where it leads. Like people, I had this discussion last year in my the journalism class that I teach with. So the editor-in-chief of the DeMatha Stagline last year, very conservative kid. And I mean, he did a really, he's a really good writer and everything, but super conservative views, which, is something that I had to, there were times where he would write articles and I would write a response article. I wouldn't publish it, but I needed to do something as a way to vent my energy. 'Cause I'm just really? Come on. You have to balance that a little bit as an educator sometimes. But we had this discussion where he was, we were talking about conspiracy theories and the mentality of people who are most susceptible to them and why it's dangerous to buy into conspiracy theories. We're talking about things like flat earth theory. And he brings up this question of why is that such a big deal? Why does it matter if some people think that the earth is flat? Does that really, is that actually damaging to people? And my response was, in itself, just one person believing that, not inherently, but the problem is when that kind of thing spreads and people, that can be damaging because then people who are flat earthers, they distrust NASA as an institution, right? And NASA does amazing work and they are filled with people who have dedicated their lives to real research, proper scientific method following research, not just, finding things on the internet that confirm what you want to be true research, like what Kyrie Irving does. But the other thing that's a problem with it is that when you believe in one conspiracy theory, there is a much higher chance that you are going to believe other conspiracy theories, right? Like, very few people only believe in the flat earth conspiracy theory and don't fall prey to any others. Most people who believe in one believe in many. And that is where it can start to get really problematic, because a lot of conspiracy theories are truly damaging. Conspiracy theories like Jewish space lasers, like COVID was created by the government, whether it was China's government or the United States government. But like, we saw the real world impact of people believing that China created the coronavirus, because we saw a lot of anti-Asian hate, a lot of anti-Asian violence during the pandemic.
Yeah, and specifically talking about conspiracy theories against this group of people. History is a hell of a storyteller when it comes to this. Conspiracy theories against Jews lead to dead Jews.
Yes.
Unequivocally. That's
Yes.
how this goes down. More than any
yes.
other group of people. Like, we could talk about the anti-immigrant stances that people have. We know that there are a lot of racists out there that certainly have issue with any non-white folks, especially in this country. But the specific hatred, the hate rhetoric directed at Jewish people is more likely to lead to an attack, is more likely to lead to people losing their lives over it. And to operate in this realm is incredibly dangerous, and it should not be tolerated. And frankly, it pisses me off that the Nets are letting this slide.
It pisses me off that neither the Nets statement nor the NBAPA statement specifically name Kyrie Irving when they're talking about we don't accept this sort of hate speech. Hate speech of any kind is not going to be tolerated. All right, well, show your intolerance by naming the person who was doing this.
And do something about it.
And then, yeah, exactly. And then do something about it. But the generic, we don't tolerate this speech and we're going to work with all of our players to... No.
One player to work with.
There's one player right now. There may be other anti-Semitic players out there, but none of them are saying anything anti-Semitic right now. And that's really what this is about. Mm-hmm. People can have beliefs that are truly hateful. If they don't speak on it, they don't act on it, then it equates to them not having that belief as far as the real world impact of it. It's when they start to speak on it, it's when they start to act on it that it becomes problematic. And right now we have one player in the NBA who is speaking and acting, at least speaking on it, and that's Kyrie Irving.
The fact that the Nets saw what happened with Kyrie, specifically with Nick Friedel, in that post-game press conference, and didn't say, wow, this is a serious problem, we need to discipline Kyrie, we need to rein him in, or we just need to get rid of him. Instead, they said, we're just not going to make Kyrie available to the media anymore.
So they're hiding him?
Yes,
yeah.
Indicating that it's the media's fault for creating this storm.
That's exactly what the message is. That's exactly what the message is from the Nets. Whether that's their intended message or not, that is the message that is received.
Actions speak louder than words, right? So you're hiding from what's going on. You're trying to sweep it under the rug, but this. Is Kyrie facing some sort of punishment from the Nets or the NBA, financial or games missed or anything?
No.
Nothing so far.
The Nets have said they're not going to suspend him or anything of that nature. No.
Oh, in my opinion, he doesn't need to play in the NBA anymore, right? Like, if you're going to use your platform of being an NBA player to spew this type of hate, dangerously, right? Like, it's not only unacceptable, but is there a stronger word than that?
Unconscionable?
Yeah, unconscionable. Like, how, by doing nothing, you're doing something, I think.
And Yeah, like doing nothing is a choice you've made, and that choice speaks to how seriously you take this and how much you value doing the right thing versus placating your annoying star. And that's sort of where I'm losing patience on this, because there's no just reason to keep Kyrie on a roster at this point. And we saw what happened to Myers Leonard, who got on some Twitch or something. He was streaming, playing video games. This is a couple of years ago. And he used an anti-Semitic slur just off the cuff when he got killed by a camper or something like that.
Yep, no, I remember that.
Can relate to the frustration, but I wouldn't be on there using that word. And we haven't heard from him since. He was shipped off as a filler throw into some trade from the Heat to, I think, the Thunder. And then the Thunder cut him, and he hasn't been seen in the NBA since. And while Myers Leonard certainly isn't a player of Kyrie Irving's caliber, he's not a player that would be exiled from the league on the basis of his play alone. This isn't an Enes Kanter situation where he believes he's being exiled because of his political views when it's actually because he stinks. No, Myers Leonard is out of the league because of the things he did, and rightfully so. Kyrie Irving has done worse, in my opinion, in this situation. And the gaslighting act with him saying, well, I didn't promote anything. It's like, dude, you shared a link on your Twitter with no other context. That is a promotion.
Yes.
Like, what else did you think we were supposed to do with that?
Right. Creating an advertisement for a product or for a movie is not the only way to promote something. Like, when you post something on your social media without any comment that is saying, hey, this is really messed up, like, don't fall prey to this, it's an act of promotion. Even posting that could be seen as an act of promotion, but at least you could then say to a media personnel who asks a question like, yeah, but I clearly said, like, this is a bad thing. Like, I'm only pointing it out so that people know to look out for this from other people. But when you just post it, like, you're posting it for people to watch. And you're posting it most likely because you agree with stuff in it.
Here's what I don't understand from the Nets' perspective on this. Why, even from a basketball standpoint, just strictly from the cold nature of doing business and the math behind things, why are you keeping Kyrie Irving? Your team sucks. You're 2-6. You are absolutely, in no uncertain terms, going nowhere this year. You would be lucky to even crack the play-in at this rate. You're not winning a championship. Your star player, Kevin Durant, is unhappy, clearly doesn't want to be there anymore. Kyrie Irving is playing on an option year. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year.
Blow it up at this point.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Bomani Jones suggested it and caught some heat. Like, screw trading him. Just waive him. Just get rid of him, because nobody else wants to trade for this guy, because imagine that press conference. Imagine, like, because the Lakers were always the team that was the sole team that had interest in Kyrie Irving when it looked like the Nets were going to blow it up over the summer. Because LeBron and Kyrie have played together, Russell Westbrook doesn't fit, yada, 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 on and on and on. LA doesn't need any more anti-Semites. They've already got one named Kanye West. They don't need another one in Kyrie Irving. That's the last thing that market needs, is to bring that in. They're not interested in trading for him or acquiring him.
Kanye catching some deserved strays on this podcast.
But it's interrelated, though. Like,
it is. No, it's directly related.
I'm not just pulling this out of my ass.
No, I know. That's why I said deserves.
This all ties together, because we've seen, I mean, there were people, like, I forget which football game it was. It might have involved UCLA and USC or one of those schools. People holding up Nazi symbols and anti-Jewish rhetoric above highways and things like that. This was happening in the United States in the last couple weeks, and it coincidentally was right off the heels of Kanye West saying these things. And so this has an effect. I mean, there's no way around it. I don't understand why you would bother keeping the guy at this point.
And I don't understand Joseph Tsai tweeting about how he wants to sit down with Kyrie and talk about this to make sure he understands.
That's the
Kyrie and understanding are like, they're mutually exclusive.
Yes.
Kyrie's not interested in understanding anything. We just said it.
I don't know if he's capable of it, but he's certainly not interested in it.
We just said he has zero interest in actually disciplining himself to learn about things in a way that he could actually be considered somewhat scholarly. He's not willing to do that. He just wants to carry on a facade like he knows these things. He's Cosmo Kramer. That's what he is. Like, if you watch Seinfeld, Kramer acts like he knows a lot of stuff. He doesn't really know anything. And that's what makes him funny, but he's a TV character on a sitcom.
Right.
And you're not supposed to actually like him. You're just supposed to laugh at him. Kyrie Irving, we used to laugh at you because we thought your stuff was kind of just humorous, even if we thought it was dumb. We are beyond humor. This is not funny anymore, and we are not laughing.
I also take issue with the NBA. Like, Donald Sterling was caught on camera, saying some horrible stuff. But, like, and they were able to get rid of him. It seems to me it's much harder to get rid of an owner than it is to get rid of a player. I feel like the NBA ownership, or Adam Silver, or somebody who signs the checks in that office is going to be like, hey, we're not taking this in the least bit. You got to go. And, you can't be afraid to deal with the lawyers and stuff on an issue this serious. I'm sure that like the PA will want to keep Kyrie's salary or something like that. But, I think that's a much smaller issue than, the hate that's being spewed by this famous guy that you're employing.
Yep.
So, alrighty. Continue with the Nets. Steve Nash is no longer the coach. The Nets fired the wrong guy. Like, they should have fired Kyrie Irving.
No, they should have fired both of them. Let's be clear.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true.
And now Eric's Coach of the Year is back in play.
Your boy.
It still counts. This is effectively a firing by the Celtics, so I still am the Grim Reaper here.
Yes.
Even if he finds employment shortly after, which
just seems like such BS.
This is so stupid. Like, the Nets, we just spent the last half hour killing the Nets, and for something that they did that, or haven't done really, that pissed us off, and now they're doing something that absolutely should rub people the wrong way by bringing in Ime Udoka. Potentially. It hasn't actually happened yet. I should be clear about that. He's not currently the coach of the Nets, but it certainly seems like that's the direction things are going. I mean, what does this say about accountability for people who mistreat women in the workplace?
There isn't any.
Yeah, like, the Nets are perfectly happy. Like, the Celtics are like, okay, well, we're happy to get rid of him. We just don't want him here anymore. And the Nets take that as, oh, sure, great, awesome. We'll bring him on. Like, I don't know what their expectations are. I'm here to tell them Ime Udoka is not going to save this team. I mean, he's just not. Like, last year, Ime Udoka turned around the Celtics because the Celtics had kind of flatlined a bit. Like, they looked like a team that was ascending, going to dominate the Eastern Conference for years to come. And then suddenly they stagnated. They weren't really playing all that well. They underachieved.
But they had talent.
Yeah, they had top 10 level talent in Jason Tatum, all-star talent Jaylen Brown, a ton of good defensive players, and Ime Udoka was willing to go be the bad cop a little bit and stick some foots in asses so that people would get motivated, whereas it seemed like Brad Stevens didn't quite have that edge to him. And Stevens, to his credit, was self-aware enough to step away from the team and say, I'll work in the front office, and that'll be my avenue. We need somebody else to coach this team. They can motivate these players. And again, to the Celtics players' credit, they clamored for that level of accountability from the coach. Like, Jason Tatum is a guy who said, yeah, we've gotten a little bit stagnant. We haven't quite stayed motivated. We need somebody that's going to provide that kick in the butt. And Ime Udoka is going to maybe try the same thing, but he's going to try it with Kyrie Irving. Like, Kyrie Irving?
Oh, that's not going to work.
Kyrie Irving can't have a journalist ask him a question and follow up on it when Kyrie gives a roundabout answer. How the hell is he going to have mean-ass Ime Udoka getting in his face when he decides to stand around the perimeter instead of moving without the ball? Or when he gets blown by and plays turnstile-type defense? What's going to happen then? Kyrie's going to start whining. He's going to go on a 2-week sabbatical to get his mind right. The team is going to be more fractured than they already are, and it's all going to go to hell just like it already has. Ime Udoka can't save this team because this team doesn't want to be saved. Kyrie doesn't even want to be there. KD doesn't want to be there. Ben Simmons doesn't want to be anywhere. He wants to be on the couch drinking dew with Zion playing 2K. He wants nothing to do with playing basketball anymore. How the hell is Ime gonna motivate this team? It's just not gonna happen. Like, it's over. They should blow it up. The unfortunate part for them is they traded all their picks away to the Rockets when they tried to trade for James Harden, so now they're hosed, which is appropriate because they're the Brooklyn Nets, they're the Clippers East, this is their place, and they should stay there.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a mess all around. What about the rest of the league?
The rest of the league is not making any sense, except for the Bucks, I guess. They're 6-0. We lauded them for being the only 2-0 team, not understanding how they had only played 2 games through 8 days, but they played 4 more and won all of them. They had a close affair, I think, against the Bulls the other night. That was a surprisingly close game because the Bulls aren't really healthy and not that good. But the Bulls last night, by the way, beat the Nets. So that happened. So the Bucks are rolling. They look great. Giannis looks incredible. If there's a such thing as a MVP through the first 2 weeks of a 25-week season, he'd be it. So they look awesome. But the rest of the East has been a little shoddy. The Sixers are off to a slow start, and B doesn't look like the MVP that I predicted him to be. And frankly, that a lot of people predicted him to be. He was the overwhelming favorite to win the award. Not looking like it's going to happen. I know it's early to write him off, but it's really hard to win the MVP when you come out of the gates this slow. Ask Luka Doncic how that works out for him. When every year everybody says he's going to win the MVP and he shows up, he's too fat, and he spends the first 3 weeks getting into shape, and then everybody remembers, oh yeah, Luka's great, but he pays a fat tax, right? Like that's the deal. But anyway, like I said, the Sixers aren't that good. The Celtics look pretty good. The Cavaliers look every bit as legit as I thought they might. But then the Western Conference is actually more interesting because you've got teams that were supposed to be tanking, like the Jazz and the Spurs, and the Jazz are 6-2 somehow. And Danny Ainge is probably in shambles because this was a ready-made, built-to-tank type of team, and they've won 6 games.
They're suck so bad, you don't even suck good.
Exactly. It's just really bad. And then now they're really good somehow with a bunch of guys who aren't good at basketball but seemingly are playing really well. The Spurs, same thing. They traded away DeJounte Murray, who was their only good player after they got rid of DeMar DeRozan, I think last year. And so he's gone playing in Atlanta, and the Hawks suck. So there's that. And the Spurs are winning games. I mean, shout out to Greg Popovich. We know he's a legend, but I thought he was in on the game too. He was supposed to be like, yeah, let's tank. But they're not tanking. So, meanwhile, you've got teams that were supposed to be contenders, like the Clippers and the Warriors, who have started off very slow. I'm a bit more concerned about the Clippers than I am for the Warriors because the Clippers' issue is the best player on the team ain't really showing up to work. And that player's name is Kawhi Leonard. Now, we know Kawhi was coming off of an ACL injury not even last year, 2 seasons ago at this point. He got injured in the postseason of 2021, and he has played in 2 games. I think he's played a grand total of 25 minutes. He's looked every bit a guy coming off of a serious knee injury, and the rest of the time he hasn't played at all. He's only played in 2 out of their 9 games, and that has to be considered alarming given his history with injuries, degenerative quad problems, knee issues that stem from that, and the fact that this isn't like he's rushing back from an injury. This isn't like RG3 in the 2013 football season where January in the postseason he tears his ACL and he's back for week 1 like less than 9 months later. Kawhi's been hurt. He tore that ACL 16 months ago. Like, he should have been a full go for 5-on-5 contact practice before the end of last regular season, right? Like 10 months, you ought to be ramping up to come back. And he's ramping up right now, but not really because he's not even showing up. it doesn't seem like he's coming back at any type of level that the Clippers need him to be if they want to win a championship. And that's what this roster is built to do. Last year, they spent their time trading for some solid depth, building out their roster to build around Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Paul George, by the way, looking a little cooked too. He's not as good as he used to be. And if that's going to be the case, the Clippers have no shot. And I've got no reason to believe that 31-year-old Kawhi Leonard with multiple injuries who can't recover from an ACL injury and seemingly is just incapable of getting right is going to make it through this season and be the alpha on a championship team. It just doesn't – this is not good for the Clippers. And then Golden State's got their own issues, but I think theirs are more fixable. It's just a question of, are they willing to actually fix them? And we talked about it a little last week, but this last week's games kind of re-emphasized my concerns. Last season, Golden State had 9 guys they could trust in a playoff rotation at a really, really high level. And 3 of those 9 guys are gone. And Nemanja Bjelica is gone. Otto Porter is gone. Gary Payton II is gone. The Warriors brought in White Dante to replace Gary Payton. That's not a one-for-one replacement by any means, but still not a bad player. They also got JaMychal Green to replace Otto Porter. Again, a step down as far as, a depth forward. So the Warriors needed these younger guys, Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman, Moses Moody, to elevate their game to be able to contribute to this team's winning cause. And one of them has, and it was the one with the lowest draft capital in Moses Moody. He was the 14th overall pick for the Warriors in 2021. James Wiseman has been horrific on the floor. Like, worst player in the league type of stuff. Like, the value of an MVP level player in the negative direction type of bad.
What?
He has been a single-handed, by himself, a wrecking machine for any Golden State lineup, including the lineups with Steph Curry and Draymond Green, which is impossible.
So wrecking machine against his own team.
Yes, he's out there just blowing up his own squad. Whenever he's out there, and again, I sympathize with him. He played 3 games in college. He played like 30 games his rookie year. He didn't play at all his second year, and now he's being asked to play big minutes in the rotation for a championship contender. But that doesn't change reality. And the reality is he ain't good enough. Not by damn sight. Will he be good enough in a couple years? Maybe. Will he be good enough next year? Maybe. I'm leaning no. Is he going to be
good enough in their next game?
No. No, he's not. And a lot of people want to say, well, it's early, guys. We'll give him some time to learn how to play. Big men don't learn how to play in a single season. They need a full year of learning how to not do the things because they go out there and mess it up a bunch. They need a full offseason to sort of compartmentalize and let that stuff digest, and then they come back and make a leap, if they make a leap at all. Sometimes they're just not good. And regardless of whether Wiseman is just not good or just needs some time, the Warriors don't have time. The Warriors are a team that's trying to win a championship this year. And in my opinion, Jonathan Kuminga can't even make the rotation. James Wiseman is virtually unplayable for them. If these guys don't improve and find themselves in a role that can get this done in a way that can make the Warriors still feel good about their chances of winning in April, May, and June, you've got to trade them. I don't see what else you can do. You cannot justify kneecapping your own championship-level team because you are committed to sticking with a bunch of lottery tickets, and that's what these guys are. I don't see how you justify it. We've talked about the Warriors trying to pull off this 2 timelines thing where they want to contend for championships now while they have Steph, Dre, and Clay, while also building for the future. But the thing is, they're already ahead of the curve when it comes to the future. They've already got Jordan Poole. They've already got Moses Moody, who looks like the real deal. They've got Andrew Wiggins locked up for a lengthy period of time, and he's only 28. They have a future. They're better than most teams that are able to contend as far as looking at their outlook down the road. So there's no reason to keep all of them. Why not trade a couple of them to a team that might say, hey, we could use a couple of guys that could be really good in a couple of years as we try to rebuild, and we'll kick these guys a couple of veterans that could help build out their bench. It doesn't make any sense to not operate that way, especially when you consider the fact that Klay Thompson, I don't know if he's ever going to be the same. I hate to say it, love Klay Thompson. And after the 2019 finals, which the Warriors lost to the Raptors, I said I would never say anything ill about Klay Thompson again, but I have to be honest about where he is. And, Klay Thompson reminds me a bit of, this is a reference that stuck in my head, and I hate it because these movies were terrible, but you guys have seen Transformers, right?
No. Nope, thank God.
Really? Really? Neither of you have seen any of the Transformers movies?
None of them. I've ridden the Transformers ride at Universal.
I think I saw the end of one of them where they're like on a bridge or something.
Okay, well, let me explain to you why I'm going to make this analogy.
Such a detailed memory, Cory.
It was like, maybe it wasn't even a bridge. It was more like the top of a dam or something.
So less detailed now.
Well, that might be actually more detail. Like, there are fewer dams in the United States than there are bridges.
That is true. So anyway, in the first movie, Shia LaBeouf's character stumbles upon Bumblebee, who's a Transformer, or he's an Autobot. He transforms into a yellow Camaro. You've probably seen that to some extent.
I know about Bumblebee.
Yeah. Well, Bumblebee has a defect in that in a fight with some Decepticon, he had his voice box damaged, so he's unable to speak. So his way of communication is through the car radio. He plays certain songs or whatever, or some news clip or whatever. And that's his means of communication. And throughout the movie, he does this, and it's obviously a gimmick. And then by the end, his voice box is repaired, and he's able to speak. Well, and then the second movie, he's right back to not having a voice box anymore because I guess Michael Bay just decided the gimmick was too good to give up and had to run it back. It didn't make any sense. Whatever. This is what Klay Thompson feels like a little bit right now. Like, last year, he comes back.
I forgot what you were even talking about. Like, where are we?
I brought it back. Cory is having a fit over here.
It's not on screen anymore.
So I will continue to talk about this while Cory has his giggle fit. So Klay Thompson last year comes back in January. He's on a minutes restriction. He's obviously really, really raw. And understandably so, he's been on the shelf for 2 years. He's bricking shots. He's taking too many shots. He's only playing, 5-minute spurts at a time. But then by the end of last year, Klay Thompson, he literally led the Golden State Warriors in playoff minutes. He played more minutes than Steph or Wiggins or anybody in the playoffs, despite the fact that he was coming off of these injuries because he had worked his way into shape. And we all said, okay, Klay Thompson now, full off season to actually just be a basketball player instead of rehabbing serious injuries. He's going to come back and be great. No, he's back to minutes restrictions. Again, I understand to an extent the fact that he had a mental block about playing pickup because that's when he tore his Achilles in the fall of 2020. Like he was rehabbing his ACL, he was ready to make a comeback, and then he got hurt playing pickup, so he didn't really do a whole lot of practicing, so his conditioning was way behind. But man, that makes it real hard for this team when he's on limited minutes and he's not in shape and he's playing poorly, because that just means more minutes for these guys that ain't able to play right now, and that's killing Golden State.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess in a roundabout way we did get there.
I told you.
So that leads us into the NFL. So I believe we're all NFL from here on out.
Yep.
So, of course, we will start with the Baltimore Ravens beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa on Thursday Night Football last week.
A long time ago.
It was a long time ago, and now you guys get extra time to prepare for your next game because you don't play until Monday night.
Yeah, and then there's a bye week the week after that.
Fancy.
So, it was nice to get a win on national TV. It's also nice to get a win on a Thursday because then, you're not going to have an opportunity to maybe lose for a longer time now. So that was pretty good. Mark Andrews got hurt, but that's maybe minor. Rashad Bateman got hurt again. He re-aggravated whatever his foot injury was. So he's going to miss some time. Gus Edwards hurt his hamstring, I believe. And it's in the other leg from the ACL he had last year. So More injuries. But help is on the way. The Ravens yesterday just traded for Roquan Smith from the Bears, their inside linebacker, in exchange for linebacker A.J. Klein, who I'd only heard of because he plays for the Ravens, and I was like, who is that?
He's
already gone. A 2023 second-round pick and a 2023 fifth-round pick. So that's great. Roquan Smith is on the last year of his contract, so he might be a rental. And if he leaves in free agency, the Ravens could get a third or fourth round compensatory draft pick. Or they could extend him and obviously not get the compensatory pick, but they added a good player for not a whole lot. So that's pretty good. And it also underscores how...
I feel like a player and 2 picks, especially second rounder being one of them, I wouldn't say that's not a lot.
Yeah, but I mean, going back to what Eric said about chasing lottery tickets, that's what these draft picks are.
Sure.
I mean, the Rams won the Super Bowl last year.
But you just gave up 2 lottery picks.
Yeah.
Not just one.
But, I mean, the Rams don't have any draft picks until 2037. Right? They're never picking in the draft again. But they won the Super Bowl. So it was worth it. So I like this move, and it underscores how terrible Patrick Queen has been. He's been playing a little better, but he's supposed to be the sideline, blow up the run game, covering tight ends kind of linebacker, and he hasn't been that.
We gassed him so much on this podcast when the Ravens picked him.
Yes, we did.
Has he even been a hash mark to hash mark linebacker? Maybe the middle
the
hash
hashes are closer together.
Maybe the middle hash. I think I was thinking more like number to number, but yeah, hash mark to hash mark is not that much. But he's not even a number to number linebacker.
Can he run from inside the tackle box to the other side of inside the tackle box? Pretty
barely.
Bad.
Yeah.
He also knows that he loves to drop an interception too.
Oh,
that's his favorite thing.
I mean,
it's like Carlos
Rogers.
He
plays defense.
It's like any defense playing the Chiefs, except for this year, because they're actually kind of catching some of Patrick Mahomes.
It's like any defense. It's like the Pittsburgh Steelers against Tua. Jeez.
I mean, Queen did catch an interception off of Tua in 2019 in that legendary matchup, that Alabama game.
In college, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's one of the greatest college games ever. Oh,
that was a really good game. Joe Shiesty was nasty.
Yes. Yeah, so much NFL star power on that field. Back to Roquan Smith. I am aware of where he went to school, very much so. He was just a complete menace against a triple option in college. He was the example of why the triple option doesn't work at the NFL level, because the defensive guys are too fast. They can defend multiple options at the same time. So it doesn't matter which option you pick, it's getting blown up. So Smith is that fast, that fierce of a tackler, and I guess cliche, but he just loves ball, apparently. So, glad to have him. And, the draft picks or whatever. I think draft picks are overvalued. Just trade them away. Fine. Get your guy. Do whatever it takes to get your guy. So, do y'all disagree with that philosophy? Or, what do y'all think of this move?
Depends on how much I'm giving up, but generally speaking, I agree.
Roquan Smith is an absolute stud. This is an all-pro caliber linebacker, and the Bears have been trying to get rid of him basically since the season started. Second and a fifth to me is worth it. AJ Klein is a big fat nothing burger as far as I'm concerned.
I agree with that.
That's a throw-in.
I just don't like the idea of giving up a second if this winds up being a 1-year rental or a half-a-year rental at this point.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Ravens handle that, especially given the fact that they've got a big elephant in the room named Lamar Jackson and his lack of a contract. So all of that kind of ties together a little bit. But I agree. I feel like draft picks are more valuable to bad teams not because they know how to make the picks turn into good players, but because they can pretend like they do and they can sell hope. Whereas, actual NFL teams that are interested in winning now, they need players.
Yeah.
And so the Ravens aren't really – what are they going to do with that second-round pick that would really compel you to say it's not worth Roquan Smith? Who knows? But what I know about what the Ravens have done lately is they've hoarded a lot of draft picks in the hopes that they turn into something special, and then they don't. So this is sort of
Patrick Queen.
This is a deviation from the previous strategy that frankly hadn't really worked, and so I respect it. I think that the Ravens should be in a go for it type of situation. I mean, I get it, the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl and all, but you still got to try.
Yeah, the Bills have to play playoff games too.
Yeah, and the Ravens already gave them a tough one, so if you can make your team a little better, if you can make Josh Allen maybe consider not running for that first down because Roquan Smith's going to take his head off, that might be worth it. I mean, right? Like, the problem is Josh Allen's so damn big and so damn fast. You send corners and defensive backs after him, and he just swats them off like flies. Like, it's bug meat windshield type of situation there. Roquan Smith ain't that dude. Like, he can run him down, and he can get him on the ground at the same time.
Swats them off like Derrick Henry did to what's his name from the Ravens?
Josh Norman.
Josh Norman was
also Josh Norman, but I was thinking of the dude for the Ravens in that playoff game too.
Earl Thomas.
Although to be fair, Earl Thomas didn't get thrown off. He just
ran away.
Oh.
After he talked smack about how the Patriots were soft and how like we do things differently here with the Ravens, and then Derrick Henry's coming around the edge, and it's like
he's like, I'm gonna get out of the way.
I'm gonna go out of my way to turn my numbers to the running back.
Right this way, King Henry.
Like, I'm a Hall of Fame free safety, and I'm scared to tackle a running back.
Here's a red carpet, Your Majesty. Why don't you just waltz right into the end zone
in the playoffs, no less.
In the offs.
Yeah, and Earl Thomas hasn't played since. That was his last game in the NFL.
It was.
So
he also had some other issues with weird title-worthy orgies, right? Like
and giving fingers to the crowd when he gets hurt.
Well, he did that in
Seattle.
That
was
gave the finger to
his bench.
To his bench?
It was to the Seahawks sideline because he wanted his money and they weren't willing to give it to him, and then he got hurt.
Yeah.
So,
anyway.
excited for the Ravens. We'll see what happens this coming week. Week 8 takeaways, or Week 8 takeaway, because we didn't see the game, or the games, really, this week.
We saw a little bit of some of the early games. So I watched some of the London. I used some of the London game. I also saw the beginning of some of the 1 o'clock games. For example, I saw Alvin Kamara's first touchdown of the entire season, one of 3 that he had on the day, but took him long enough to find the end zone.
Does that feel like maybe they were trying to juice his trade value by saying, "Hey, let's actually hand Alvin Kamara the ball in the red zone and let him"?
And he didn't trade.
Yeah, because up until this point, like they just used Taysom Hill down there.
I get it. I complained about this last week. Alvin Kamara is one of the great touchdown scorers of the last 10 years. He's got 70 touchdowns in less than 6 seasons as a running back. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. If you look at his numbers, his numbers are Hall of Fame worthy through the first 5.5 years of his career. He's been amazing. And yet the Saints are just like, let's let useless Taysom Hill do it. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. So Cory's fantasy team had all the good players, leaving us, non-Hall of Famers to fight over the scraps. So, Cory, your fantasy team scored over 200 points, and that's somehow not the all-time record.
No, it is. It is.
It is.
Yeah. So
okay.
we had never had a game in our league's history, which is almost 10 years long, where a team scored 200 points. We hadn't even had a team score 190 points in a game. So Eric scored 185 in the 2016 AFL Championship, and then last year midseason, Sean had a game where he scored 188 point something, and now this one at 205.71 or whatever. So I would have scored more if I had started Tua instead of Jalen Hurts, but Jalen had a very good game. I had Christian McCaffrey, who is the first running back since LaDainian Tomlinson to throw, run, and receive a touchdown pass in the same game. I had Travis Etienne, who had a really good game in the morning London game. I had A.J. Brown, who had 3 first-half touchdown receptions. He's the first player ever since this has been tracked who scored 3 touchdowns on go routes in a game. I had...
This was against the Steelers, right? Like,
yes, it was against the Steelers.
Who's playing defense on the Steelers?
I don't know.
3 touchdowns on go routes?
Yep.
Oh, jeez.
I had DeAndre Hopkins, who had a terrific game. He's been fantastic in his first 2 games back from suspension. I had Jalen Waddle, who had a huge game, along with Tyreek Hill. He also had a huge game. But I had Jalen Waddle, and I had their tight end, Mike Gesicki, who scored a touchdown. So my offensive players were terrific. I scored 205 points despite getting less than 8 total points from my kicker and defense combined, because the 49ers and Matt Gay didn't do jack for me.
Oh.
So my offensive players just went off.
Yeah, I think that's when you draft somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, you probably got him a little later just because he was suspended. But it's basically like if you could hold down the fort for those first 6 weeks,
which my team did.
Yeah, you're going to get great value for it. And I was like, when I saw your record was 4-2 through the first 6 weeks, I was like, this is bad news for me. My team stinks as it is, but I'm like, Cory's team's about to get significantly better just organically. You're not going to even have to give anything up. You're just going to have to pull a guy off your bench and put him in your lineup.
Yep.
And then Christian McCaffrey goes from running back prison to running back heaven in San Francisco.
And with yesterday's trade deadline, the 49ers gave away the only guy who even could take some of his touches away in the running game, and that was Jeff Wilson. Not that Jeff Wilson was really going to be taking a lot of touches away.
Which is why they traded him, because it's like, why would we even bother when we've got this guy?
But, right? You figure you'd give him a couple touches here or there, but nope, not anymore, because he's gone.
They'll probably give whoever's the backup a couple of touches just to...
Yeah, sure.
So McCaffrey
but they're not going to be as high quality as Jeff Wilson was, so they're going to get fewer touches.
And more importantly...
Kyle Juszczyk.
More importantly, they're not going to gash people for 25 yards, and then you're like, well, that could have been McCaffrey's if you would put him in the next play.
Right. It will be his.
Yeah, that's what would piss me off about Alexander Mattison. It's like, it's not the fact that he exists, because I understand you can't just have one guy get all the carries. It's the fact that he exists and he's good, because it's like, okay, you spell Dalvin Cook for a couple of plays, like maybe a series, and that running back maybe picks up 8 to 12 yards, and then you put Dalvin Cook back and say, no, this guy got 35 yards. That's 35 yards Dalvin Cook's not going to get.
Yep.
Sometimes he even comes in and scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
He runs all the way to the end zone from the 40, and I'm like, those are my yards and my touchdown. What are you doing in here? It's just like, come on, man.
Vultures.
It's really frustrating.
Yeah. Hate the vultures.
So Christian, wrapping up the trade deadline, I guess, in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey's on the 49ers now for a bunch of draft picks. Bradley Chubb went from the Broncos to Miami for Chase Edmonds, a 2025 fifth and a 2023 first and a 2024 fourth. So we'll see what happens with that. Chase Claypool, formerly of the Pittsburgh Steelers, is now on the Chicago Bears for a 2023 second rounder.
I like that move for the Bears, honestly. I do, because
I like it more for the Steelers.
Me too.
I think the Steelers got really good value getting a second round pick for him, but I also like this for the Bears because Chase Claypool does have talent. Part of the reason why we haven't seen that this season is because the Steelers have nobody at quarterback who's capable of getting the ball to their receivers, except for Deontay Johnson, who basically he is a poor man's Michael Thomas from a few years ago, where he runs all those short routes, and so he's the easy target for a terrible quarterback to go to. Whereas Chase Claypool, one of his biggest strength is he's a possession receiver. He can go down the field, but if you don't have a quarterback who can get it to him, that's not going to happen. Well, a few weeks ago, we would look at this and be like, well, this doesn't move the needle at all for Chicago because Justin Fields can't throw. The Bears aren't letting him throw. But Justin Fields over the past couple of weeks has gone from averaging 12 passes per game to averaging more than 20 passes per game. They're actually letting him air it out, and he is being pretty successful.
Too, yeah.
He's hit Darnell Mooney on some deep balls over the past 2 or 3 weeks. And Chase Claypool is a better Darnell Mooney.
If you saw Justin Fields play in college, and Evan and I both did,
mm-hmm.
You understand that if he can figure it out at the NFL level in terms of just understanding how to play offense in a system, he is going to be a problem because, like, you've seen it in the NFL. When he gets downfield, he's taking off and running. He's faster than everybody on the field. Like, he's got, like, his speed it's not like Lamar's speed, but it's not that far off. Like, he's not as fast as Lamar, but he's faster than Josh Allen, and Josh Allen's friggin' fast. And he's almost as big as Josh Allen. He's got a really strong arm. It's just a matter of figuring out how to play the position and
coaching him well.
Yeah, coaching him well. But at the same time, I'm worried about. I'm not really worried about this. I think that it's an opportunity for Justin Fields, but I also
get him another good receiver. That's what they did, in my opinion.
My concern is that more with the Bears, thinking that this was sufficient. Like we talked about, go get like Jalen Hurts got A.J. Brown, right, and Kyler Murray got DeAndre Hopkins.
Right. I mean, Claypool is not on that level. Yeah, Claypool's not on that level.
And I hope that the Bears don't think this is adequate, because it's not. And I feel like they also made the trade just to snipe Claypool from the Packers, because the Packers were trying to trade for him.
Which I don't necessarily fault them for that either, because when you're talking about, like, it's not like Aaron Rodgers just absolutely sucks. He's certainly taken a step back from what he was, but he also has no weapons.
Yep.
And you give him a guy like Claypool, and all of a sudden the Packers, become a viable wild card team. Whereas right now, they're very much on the outside looking in.
Well, they're not like the Bucs, who have the luxury of playing in a crummy division.
Right. I mean, the Packers are already 3.5 games behind the Vikings.
The Vikings are frauds.
That's not what you want.
The Vikings are frauds, but 3.5 games is a lot to overcome.
Yeah, plus the Vikings
when you've
got,
got 9 games left to play.
And it's not like the Packers are getting any better. They look like crap.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of the Vikings, TJ Hawkinson and picks went to the Vikings in exchange for more picks.
Yeah, and this I'm going to be interested to see how this works out, because it felt like Irv Smith was really kind of inserting himself into that offense. Like, he was becoming a pretty big focal point in the passing game for Minnesota, because Kirk refuses to throw to Justin Jefferson, particularly in the red zone. Jefferson has no touchdown receptions since week 1. Like we mentioned this last night, and Evan once again gave me grief for pointing out that he would have had better value getting Justin Jefferson in the 7th round as opposed to Cooper Kupp in, what was it, the 2nd round or something like that? It was
second or third.
Or third, whatever it was. In any case, I still think that Jefferson is going to wind up being the better value by the end of the season at that particular draft position that you could have got him. But that's neither here nor there. The point is, I'll be interested to see how this works out for the Vikings and for TJ Hawkinson, because Kirk Cousins definitely does like to use his tight ends. Like, Kirk throws to his tight ends. Hawkinson is a very talented tight end. He scored 30 points in a fantasy game this season with Jared Goff as his quarterback.
Hopefully he doesn't line up under him.
What?
You remember the time where Kirk Cousins lined up under the wrong player?
Oh, yeah. He lined up underneath the guard. How did the guard not fall?
At least he didn't line up under the tackle, much less the tight end.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He didn't line up under the center. That's the point.
All of a sudden, somebody's reaching their hand up underneath there when you're not expecting it. How do you not flinch?
I would have flinched.
Yeah.
I probably would have gone to HR.
HR. Yeah. Yes, another HR-related issue. Calvin Ridley has been traded to the Jaguars for a conditional 2023 fifth and conditional 2024 second-round pick. It's worth pointing out that Calvin Ridley has been suspended. Is it indefinitely or for like a year?
I think it's
and a
just
half?
a year.
Okay, a year for betting on NFL games, and apparently the game he bet on was the Falcons to beat the Jaguars. So
I knew he was betting on the Falcons. I didn't realize that it was against the Jaguars. That is kind of funny.
Yeah, that's the coincidence.
This is a very bizarre trade to me, because Ridley is in the last year of a deal. And while I imagine that carries over after the suspension into next season, this still basically works out to be a 1-year rental where the Jaguars are going to have to pay him if they want to keep him. And he will not have played in almost 2 full seasons because he took a leave of absence for personal reasons pretty early in the 2021 season before being suspended for the entirety of 2022. He's going to be, I want to say, 29 years old when he is eligible to play in the NFL again. Like, he's not old, but he's also not a spring chicken. And that much time away from the game, who knows if he's the Jaguars are looking for a number 1 wide receiver because that's what they need. Like, Christian Kirk has done an admirable job for them this season, but he's not a wide receiver 1. This feels like the Jaguars grasping at straws to try and get that number 1 guy. And like, this is the lottery ticket to win a lottery ticket. To me,
I mean, that's what lottery tickets are for, to win.
No, but this is them buying a lottery ticket, hoping that they win a lottery ticket so they can win something.
Oh.
They've got to win 2 lotteries now just to get a payoff.
Yeah, but like what they sent back to the Falcons, there's a lot of conditions.
Well, and that's the other thing is I don't really understand the conditions because the articles that I've read have made it sound like they're losing those draft picks. The question is, like, I don't know. I'm very confused about the conditionality of those 2 picks that they sent to the Falcons for Ridley.
I'm gonna have to check if that's a word. Jeff Wilson, formerly of the 49ers, is now in the Miami Dolphins.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins got rid of Chase Edmonds.
Yes. Where'd they send him to?
Denver, right?
Yes, Denver.
Oh, okay. So now Denver has a bunch of running backs that suck. Well, good for Denver.
That sucks too.
Right.
He said Broncos country, let's ride in London. That was really annoying. Just
whatever. Jeff Wilson, who's on my fantasy team, is going to Miami. So, maybe Jeff Wilson will hold on to the football and hold on to the job.
Well, he's not going to be the starter going in because Raheem Mostert has done an excellent job there. How about that? 2 former 49ers running backs now with the Dolphins.
With their former coach from the 49ers.
Yes, that's true.
So we'll see what happens with that. All righty. Unless I'm forgetting something, let's eliminate a team from the playoffs. Let's eliminate a team from the playoffs. I, of course, won the week again because you guys don't understand the AFC North Division like I do, and my dad, the Steelers fan, does as well. We both had the Browns and the points, and, that ticket cashes at the window. So I decided to go easy on you guys. So far, well, we're going to eliminate one team from the playoffs, and we obviously can't eliminate the same team multiple times from the playoffs, though some of these teams deserve it. And then, in addition, we can't each eliminate the same team in the same show. So I'm going first because I won the week. This past week, I've already eliminated the Texans, Jets, Panthers, Falcons, Commanders, Steelers, Lions, Broncos, and I'm going to eliminate the Raiders. They're just, that was an absolutely putrid performance from a game I didn't get to see against the Saints. You scored 0?
Devontae Adams had negative points in our league for Sean.
Oh. Yeah. What are y'all doing right now? Y'all don't deserve to make the playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs? That was ugly right there. So,
well, you certainly did make it easy for us because you had the first pick this week, and you chose somebody that both Eric and I have already eliminated. So
yes,
I definitely appreciate that because my top my top choice for elimination is a team that neither of you have eliminated yet. So I have already eliminated the Giants, Panthers, Falcons, Commanders, Texans, Lions, Raiders, and Browns. And today I am eliminating the Bears.
Yeah, I
Haven't
killed the
eliminated
Bears,
the Bears
a
yet?
while back.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, you did. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, you did eliminate the Bears. I missed that.
Yeah,
I
well,
haven't eliminated
I've
the
got
Bears.
some in here that are a little dicey at this point, namely the first place Seattle Seahawks, who I think I eliminated in week 1.
Aren't
right out
the
of the
Falcons in first place
At
too?
least the team that I eliminated is third place in their division.
Yeah, the Falcons are also in first place, but I think the Bucs are gonna still catch them. And
Are we sure about that?
No, that's why I said I think. And the Falcons.
At least we all eliminated the Falcons, but it does hurt you more because you eliminated them first.
Yeah, the Falcons are 4-4. I'm still more worried about the Seahawks because I think the Seahawks might actually be legitimately okay. Like Geno Smith is.
I think they're gonna make the playoffs
Yeah,
as a wild card. They're not gonna win the division, in my opinion.
Like, it feels like the Falcons
but-
have to win the division in order to get in, and I
Yeah.
think that's less likely than the Seahawks just continuing to be pretty good.
Yeah.
So I'm more concerned about that one. But anyway, I'm filibustering here. I've got plenty. I'm spoiled for choice here. I could do. Let's see.
So Eric
my
has
balance?
eliminated the Seahawks, Falcons, Bears, Jets, Steelers, Raiders, Broncos, and Panthers.
I feel pretty good about most of those. Oof. I have some options. I'm going to go with. Hate to do it. Man Campbell, Lions, you've got to go. You're trading away what few good players you might have. You're 1-6. Y'all stink.
Yeah, they do. It's unfortunate.
I think they're headed in the right direction, but
As a
it's not gonna be
franchise,
this
sure,
year.
Yeah.
but it's not happening right now.
Yeah, it's definitely not happening this year.
I feel a little better about killing the Jets. I feel like they suck. Like their masquerade is over.
I think so too.
Zach Wilson's just an embarrassment as a quarterback. Like he's pathetic.
Like I
I
think the
couldn't be happier
Patriots
that
were
he
a
sucks,
beatable team at home, and they were terrible. Like,
I honestly think they'd be better if they just put Flacco back in there.
I think so.
Zach
too.
Wilson is horrendous. He's pathetic. Like I couldn't be happier because I hate Zach Wilson so much.
Oh, and I love Joe Flacco.
Well, yeah, there you go.
So, the best and worst of Week 8 per Football Outsiders quick reads. The best quarterback was Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah,
Yeah, he was balling, man.
he was.
Jacoby Brissett's a good player. People sleep on him. He can play.
I mean, you two slept on this week. So.
Yeah, we did.
I think the last time that I played Madden regularly, like every season, like the first 2 seasons of my franchise, Jacoby Brissett won the MVP both years. And he was not on my team. It's not like I was playing
You're
with
right,
him
yeah, that's-
and playing really well. Like, it was computer simulated Jacoby Brissett winning the MVP
Yeah.
twice.
I had Jason Campbell winning the MVP when I played because he was my quarterback.
Right.
So,
Like, that's a little different.
yeah.
Hard words back in the day.
Yep.
The worst quarterback was Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, he was bad. The rest
So
of it,
Trevor Lawrence, not him. I'm rescinding his him status.
maybe
the
now
time
he'll play
being.
well again.
He's got to earn it back.
It seems like he started playing poorly when you called him.
I know.
So,
I know. Shouldn't have done that. Jumped the gun. I'm sorry.
Guy who is him. The best running back by total is Christian McCaffrey. And the best running back rushing only is Cory's boy, Travis Etienne.
both of them my boys.
And then the worst by total and rushing only, Kenneth Walker III.
Yeah, where was this last week when he broke off that 74-yard touchdown run on the last play of the late in the game to give Steven a win against me by less than 2 points?
Happens, man.
know.
I remember reading a tweet back in August about Christian McCaffrey where somebody said, it's like, it would be dumb to draft Christian McCaffrey 1.01 because, he's probably going to get hurt. And then somebody like replied, it's like, yeah, well, what if he doesn't? It's like, well, then you're probably going to win your fantasy championship. Well, there you go. So pick him the first. Like, what are you talking about? Like, come on.
Oh yeah.
Morons.
I mean, this
like,
sport
like
is
who,
very
like what
violent.
other player can you point to and say, well, if I get this guy 1.01 and he doesn't get hurt, then I'm probably going to win my fantasy championship.
Yeah, it's worth the risk.
Like there's nobody else who you can say that about. Like even like Derrick Henry, you can't say if he doesn't get hurt, I'm definitely going to win my championship. Like that's not a guarantee.
I had Derrick Henry last year. My team was really good before he got hurt and everybody else got hurt, but there was no guarantee I was winning the title.
No. And I mean, to be fair, CMC does not guarantee it, but like,
of course not. But like the fact that some like people are like, oh yeah, well, if he's healthy, you're probably gonna be the best team in your league. I'm like, then that's the guy I want.
yeah.
Yeah.
You don't draft people expecting them to get injured. You draft them and hope they don't.
Yeah, if it's he's got an injury history, I'm like, they're playing professional football, man. Everybody has some type of injury history. People get hurt.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. This is a very violent sport. Everybody is probably going to get hurt. You know? The best pass catchers of the week. It's a typo in here. It says AJ Brown's singular. Yeah.
He's better than all the Browns combined.
AJ
Amari
Brown,
Cooper
also
dropped a
my
couple
boy,
balls.
by the way. All three, CMC, ETN, and Brown, again, on my roster this past week. It was a good week to be me.
I gotta say, it was a good day.
Yeah. And the worst pass catcher was someone called Marcus Johnson.
Yeah, he had like one
this
catch
isn't
for
a real
6 yards
person.
for the Giants.
Who? Wait, what?
Yeah, he plays for the Giants. He had like one catch for 6 yards.
Oh, the thing
you
is,
sure?
Yes.
usually the guys that are the worst list are heavily targeted players who just got overthrown a bunch or maybe even had a fumble. Like, it's hard to be so bad when you're so irrelevant.
Yeah, this is why this is interesting because it's the second straight week that we have a guy that we all go like, who?
Yeah,
After we hear it, because last week it was Michael Bandy from the Chargers.
Usually the worst players are the guys where it's like, oh, he got like 12 targets and he caught one ball for -2 yards and he also fumbled it.
Yeah.
That's usually who ends up being the worst.
Okay. Yeah. So good on the people who had a better opportunity to be the worst for not being the worst this week, I guess. Alrighty, on to the picks. You out there can enter our weekly and season-long picks contest by emailing us at thesportsballers@gmail.com or slide into our DMs on Twitter at sportsballers18 with your email address, and we will forward you the ballot every week. Congrats to Andrew Perez with 9 correct picks on winning this week's fan contest, beating all 3 of us, including me, as much as I've been, patting myself on the back. I am currently in the lead overall, fans and hosts of this show, 65. Eric's got 62, and Cory's got 61. James Daly is leading the fan contest on the season with 58 correct picks against the Lone Wolf picks this past week. Cory was alone picking the Seahawks to beat the 3 points against the Giants. I alone was correct picking the Cowboys to beat the 9.5 points against the Bears. The Dolphins to beat the 3.5 against Detroit, and the Browns to beat the 3.5 against the Bengals. So let's
get to another week of picking games.
Yes,
against the spread.
Well, Cory and I will try to do better.
Yeah.
No promises.
Tomorrow night, it is not only are the Astros playing the Phillies, but the Philadelphia Eagles are favored by 13.5 against the Houston Texans, and I picked Philly. This is probably a terrible pick now that I'm saying it out loud, but I think the Eagles are that much better than Houston. Houston, they don't have anybody over there. Like, there's just nothing. And the Eagles are flying high right now. Oh, dear. I guess pun intended.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks is apparently upset that he was not dealt at the trade deadline.
Well, it's amazing that Brandon Cooks got traded to, like, every good team for, like, 4 straight years, and then somehow the place he gets stuck is Houston with the Texans, who are terrible. Mm-hmm. It's a shame because he's a good player.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all the analysis I got. One of y'all jump in.
Yeah, I saw the line, and my initial reaction is to sort of sometimes fade the Eagles because they do have some inconsistencies. But that didn't really happen this last week. They were pretty much cooking the entire game, and like the Texans, I used to think of them as a team that could do a little something, a little scrappy team. They haven't been that lately. I feel like they're just flat out bad now. So it's a lot of points, but it's still fewer than 2 touchdowns. So yeah, fly Eagles fly.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am. Again, I still have concerns about the Eagles because they do have a tendency to slow down in the second half, kind of take their foot off, whether it's taking their foot off the gas or just like forgetting how to
They get cute.
Script plays. Yeah, they get very cute and it gets very frustrating. However, they're going to take an early lead because that's what they always do, and the Texans are absolutely incapable of preventing that from happening. And I don't think the Texans offense is capable of really eating into that lead significantly. So if the Eagles have a 14-point or a 21-point lead at halftime, which I fully expect to happen, that's probably going to be still the spread when the game ends.
Yeah, it should hold.
Update on the World Series, still scoreless in the top of the 5th, but it is the Astros have the bases loaded with nobody out, and Yordan Alvarez is at the plate.
Uh-oh, that's trouble for Philly.
Yeah, the Phillies are making a pitching change in response to that situation.
Do you walk Yordan Alvarez and give up 1 run in this situation?
Of course not.
No, not in the World Series.
Yeah,
not when it's
not
tied.
ever, but
not when the game's tied. Like if it was like 5-3 in the 9th, you might. With 2 outs, you might just be like, okay, don't let him hit a home run.
Yeah.
All right. I want to go ahead and apologize to the Falcons. Next one is Chargers -3 at the Falcons. I picked the Falcons because I thought the Falcons were on a hot streak. They were playing better than everybody expected, and then as soon as I started picking the Falcons, that's when they started losing against the spread. So they're getting points, and they're not going to win because I'm picking them. So congratulations to the Chargers on winning by 4. This is both of these teams are perennial disappointments, right? Like the Falcons are just bad, but they're somehow worse than we think they're going to be. But then the Chargers are supposed to be good, but Brandon Staley thinks there's 5 downs and not 4. They all got injured. All the receivers got injured. What is happening here with the
Keenan
Chargers?
Allen is again not practicing this week. Like he can't stay healthy.
Mike Williams has a sprained ankle or something.
Yep.
Like this. Oh, this is a mess. The Chargers defense is still bad. And Staley's a defensive guy, apparently.
I'm hoping that this all spells a big game for Gerald Everett this week because I'm not going to have Christian McCaffrey, and I'm trying to get this win against Eric. The 49ers are on bye.
Are they?
Yeah, the 49ers are one of the teams on bye this week.
Huh.
So I have no Christian McCaffrey, and I have no 49ers defense.
I mean, you're still projected to beat me by 30 points. So
is it 30? Good God.
Dude, my team is cheeks. I've got some bye week problems this week as well. Also, yeah, my team is cheeks. That's really all you need to know.
I'm taking the Falcons like Evan, mostly just because of all of those injuries to the Chargers and the fact that their team was already underperforming. Now, Austin Eckler is really good, and he is absolutely balling these last few weeks. But the Falcons finally started using Kyle Pitts this past week. Maybe they'll keep doing that, and maybe they'll finally start using Drake London. And they're at home. And I don't trust the Chargers right now.
Yeah.
And again,
these are 2 teams that can't sell any tickets.
Yeah. So I'm going to take the Falcons just because.
I do want an update in the World Series. The Phillies brought in a new pitcher, and the first pitch he throws hits Yordan Alvarez. So they basically did walk him with the bases loaded. So it's 1-0 Houston.
Oh boy. Maybe it's the urge to chase lone wolf picks. Maybe it's the urge to pick against the Falcons because I hate them. It doesn't really make sense, though. It really doesn't, to pick the Chargers. I'm picking the Falcons. I got to. This line doesn't make sense. The Chargers aren't that good. They're beat up. Staley's a dope. I mean, like, what else is there to say? Like, give me the Falcons and the points.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Next game, Miami Dolphins -5 at Chicago Bears. I picked the Dolphins. The Dolphins offense has been humming from what I've heard, just because I haven't seen, because I haven't been watching the Red Zone the past month or so. I think the Dolphins did they add somebody else in their receiver group or like their pass catcher group? Did I miss that? I know they added Jeff Wilson.
No, the Dolphins did not add another pass catcher.
Okay.
They just added Jeff Wilson.
Okay. Well, their offense got, however, slightly more potent. The Bears' offense can't be trusted. I still don't trust them. The Dolphins' defense, I would like to think, is pretty good. So give me Miami, just because Miami has more talented players on their team.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning as well, because while I think that 5 points is a lot, especially with the Bears at home, and the Bears are playing generally better lately than they had been, I still don't trust them. And Tua has been pretty consistent when he is on the field for the whole game. Right? Like when he's been healthy, he's been very consistent. He's done a great job of using both Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Raheem Mostert has been good. Tua's not using one tight end consistently, but he is using his tight end core very well as a unit. So, and the Dolphins' defense is not great, but it's good enough to contain the Bears' offense, in my opinion. The Bears give up a lot of sacks. I'm going to take the Dolphins.
So, the top three players at the quarterback position in terms of DVOA this year. Number 3 is Josh Allen, right around 28.5, which is very good, as you would expect. A couple points ahead of him is Patrick Mahomes, who's like in the low 30s. And then there's a big old gap between number 2 and number 1 with a DVOA of 39.0, which is historically good. Tua Tagovailoa.
Oh.
Best quarterback in the sport by that metric.
Yeah.
So far this year.
Yeah.
He's been fantastic.
Yeah.
He's healthy. Give me the Dolphins.
He's he's actually giving me heartache over whether to keep starting Jalen Hurts at times,
Yeah,
because Tua is actually a viable option as a quarterback one.
Well, that's just a sign that you're going to win the championship, because I had rookie Dak on my 2016 team, and there were weeks where I would have him on the bench and he'd play at 1 o'clock and he'd score 24 points, and I'd be holding my head thinking, maybe I should have started him ahead of Rodgers, and then Rodgers would score 35, and I'd be like literally every week, Dak Prescott was a top 7 quarterback that year, and yet it was still worth it to start Aaron Rodgers every week. So it's just highly recommend keep him on your roster. It can't be any good to give him to somebody else, because your roster's already loaded, so it's not like your team's going to get that much better, and you'll make somebody else better by giving them Tua. But anyway, Dolphins.
All right. Before we get to the next game, World Series update. Alex Bregman 2 RBI double. Kyle Tucker sac fly. It is 4-0 Astros with 1 out in the 5th. Panthers at Bengals, where the Bengals are favored by 7.5. I went with Cincinnati because I think they're smarting after getting walloped on national TV by the Browns, and I think this is a get-right game for them. The Bengals did play in the Super Bowl last year. They are capable of playing well, and the Panthers are not. The Panthers traded away their best player, fired the coach. Like, who is left?
PJ Walker, baby, he's amazing.
Yes, PJ Walker from the XFL. We've got an in-play runs. Gurriel singles to drive in Bregman. 5-0 Astros. Eric, let's have you go next.
Well, Jamar Chase was on crutches for Wednesday's practice. Literally, he had crutches, which means the Bengals' offense is demonstrably worse, as we saw against Cleveland. He's probably not going to play this game. 7.5 is a lot. I'm taking the Panthers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm not trusting the Bengals right now. 7.5 points is way too much after that turd of a game that they put out there on Monday night. And I get it. This is, they're going to be embarrassed enough to want to come out and have a huge game. Lots of teams go into every game wanting to have a huge game. I would argue that 32 teams a week, except for on bye weeks, want to go out and have a huge game that week. I don't think the Bengals can do it without Jamar Chase. So the Panthers are running the ball really well with Dante Foreman, and when he's healthy, Chuba Hubbard. Like, they've got a pretty good running back group going right now for some reason. I almost called him Chuba.
Chuba Hubbard.
DJ Moore is actually, catching balls right now.
Catching game-winning touchdowns until they're not.
Yeah. So I'm with Eric on this one. I'm taking the Panthers and leaving Evan on the lonely island.
Which means Evan's going to win.
Probably, because that's what he's been doing lately.
That's how the season has gone.
I mean, y'all can copy these picks if you want. Packers at Lions, where the Packers are favored by 3.5 points. I got the Packers. The Lions are toast. And the Packers always beat the Lions. Just, every time, basically. There's nothing else to say, really.
Fading the Pack finally caught up to me last week because the Bills just, I don't know what they were doing. They blew. Obviously, in gambling terms, they blew it. They won the game comfortably, which we knew they would, but they looked like they were on their way to blowing the Packers off the field, like they have to a lot of good teams. And then they were just, like you said, Evan, they were snoozing and let the Packers sneak in the back door there and get the 10-point loss, if you will. It feels like the Lions are in sell mode. They just traded away Hawkinson. They've been trending the wrong direction. Ever since they got housed by New England, like 19-0. It just feels like they had some spunk early, where they played the Eagles close. They probably should have beaten the Vikings, right? They got a nice win against somebody. I don't even remember who it was. Week 2, but since then it's just been garbage. Jared Goff's not the guy. We know this. Mm-hmm. Sean McVay knew this too. I think the Packers looked a little better. Still not good, but good enough to cover this line. So I'm going to take the Packers and lay the points.
The Lions, do I have the right schedule? Oh, the Lions' one win was at FedEx Field against the Commanders.
Evan, you said, who are you taking again?
Green Bay.
Okay. Yeah, I'm taking the Lions. Fade the Packers.
But you're not fading the Lions.
Fade the Packers takes precedent.
The Pack have been so profitable by fading them. Just being real. Like, it's been easy money. Except last week.
Okay. And that Lions-Patriots game was 29-0.
Oh, I don't know why I thought it was 19.
No, yeah, it was definitely 29.
All right, moving on. Raiders at Jaguars. This game should be on Thursday night. Good Lord. Raiders favored by 1.5. The Raiders have no business being favored against anybody. Okay? Like, that was terrible. Y'all deserve to be eliminated from the playoffs.
Who did they play last week?
The Saints.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. What was that? Like, what were y'all doing?
Yeah, yeah. There's y'all have no team.
I can't believe that Trevor Lawrence was bad this past week, but I can't believe he was the worst instead of Derek Carr.
What has happened? Derek Carr gets an elite weapon. And he's having his worst season of his career. Mm-hmm. I'm blaming Josh McDaniels.
I am too.
He's on my list of
I
coaches.
am too.
He's on my list of coaches.
Josh McDaniels is terrible.
He sucks. He's also gotten kind of chubby.
Has he? I haven't noticed.
They showed a picture of him when he was coaching when he was coaching the Broncos. This is on Monday night when he, and I put it the emphasis on he, blew the game against the Chiefs, and they showed like a side by side of him like back when he was coaching the Broncos. It was like, damn, he's got fat, man. That's tough.
I mean, Father Time is undefeated, and so is gravity. So, yeah, I'm picking the Jags just because the Raiders stink, and I still feel like the Jags are, while not good, trending the right direction. Maybe get some good vibes being at home. That's really all I got. Just, I'm so out on the Raiders. What a disappointment, really.
Yeah, give me the Jags as well. I'm just I'm fading the Raiders, similar to the Packers. And I don't know, the Jaguars just seem to have something cooking a little bit on offense with Travis Etienne. Trevor Lawrence has been up and down, but he's had some decent weeks. But Travis Etienne he's been remarkably efficient, and now he's getting a lot of carries, and his efficiency is staying pretty solid, even with all these extra carries that have been vacated by James Robinson being shipped to New York. Like, I was starting to have some questions early this year about whether I had actually made a wise decision to keep him, despite it only costing me a 16th rounder. He seems to be the real deal. I don't know whether his body is going to be able to I don't know if it's going to be durable enough to keep him in the league for years and years, but in the short term, while he's still young, yeah, he's going to be pretty good. He's going to be a problem. And he is a problem right now.
It's absolute nonsense that the Raiders would ever be favored in a game where they're not playing at home. It makes no sense to pick them. They're absolutely horrible. Jaguars, this is a terrible game, and I have zero interest in watching it. And normally those spreads are brutal to pick, and yet somehow this one's easy.
Okay. On to the next one. Colts at Patriots, where the Patriots are favored by 5.5 points. I am on the Patriots because the Colts have no team. The Patriots don't really have a team either, but at least they have a competent coach in charge, and they're at home. But that's really it. The Colts are just more of a disappointment than the Raiders, honestly. Just a colossal flop in all regards. Like, their offensive line was supposed to be good. It's not. Jonathan Taylor got hurt. Matt Ryan was supposed to be good. He sucks. Like 7 U's in there.
Was Matt Ryan supposed to be good? I know some.
Well, they brought him in thinking he was going to be good, and he was not good.
Well, that was not smart. I could have told you that. Matt Ryan's washed, man. He's cooked.
So
DUN done.
Yeah, the Colts defense was supposed to be. They're supposed to be good on defense. They can't stop anything. So Bailey Zappi or Mac Jones or Brian Hoyer or I don't know where's
Tom Brady.
Tom Brady. Where's Luke McCown at nowadays?
There's
right.
Ryan Mallett.
Yeah, Ryan Mallett, former Patriot Ryan Mallett. Sure, he's available.
Matt Castle too.
Matt Castle, yeah. There's a lot of Jimmy G, right? All these guys.
Doug Flutie.
Patriots roll at home.
Just have old timers day. Bring back all the old quarterbacks and let them play a drive, and they'll probably score a touchdown.
This would be the great. This was the great matchup of the 2000s, right? The aughts with Manning and Brady, but Peyton Manning's on TV now, making a lot of money, and Tom Brady is 45 and still playing.
Yep. Sam Ehlinger still starting for the Colts. Still couldn't beat the Terps. Just got to put that out there every single week.
Beat Georgia though.
Did beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl. and Bevo almost killed Uga. We've told that story quite a few times, and it was amazing. Anyway,
tell it again.
We'll probably tell it again next week when we have to talk about the Colts, unless they're on bye. But I feel like the Colts already had a bye. Anyway, this is tough because the Patriots have been kind of up and down. They looked like they were pretending to be a good team, and then they got absolutely demolished on Monday. Was that Monday Night Football by the Bears? Yeah, that was because Burr and Obama were on for that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it just that didn't make a whole lot of sense. Belichick benched Mac Jones. He got zapped. Zappy comes in, throws like 2 touchdown passes in the span of like 90 seconds or something weird like that.
And then sucks in the second
And then
half.
he was absolute garbage the rest of the game. And then Belichick comes out and said it was his plan to have like a platoon quarterback situation, which has never worked in the history of ever. So that seems like a lie. Either that or Bill's slipping. But I don't really know what to make of the Patriots. I do know what to make of the Colts. They're garbage. They fired their offensive coordinator. They benched their quarterback. They're starting Sam Ehlinger, who couldn't beat the Terps. That's it. Taking the Patriots.
You aren't excited about, if Jonathan Taylor can't play this week, they're going to have Zach Moss. So they traded for him.
Zach Moss was like, the 5th running back on the Bills' depth chart? And
Third
none of
running
them
back,
were
but
good?
still, yeah.
I haven't heard about that guy
That's
forever.
why it was sarcasm.
Zach Moss. I'd rather Brandon Moss.
Yeah,
Where's
look,
he at?
Sam Ehlinger this past week absolutely played better than we've seen Matt Ryan play at any time this year. But they were playing against Washington. The New England Patriots, what?
Who won that game? Commies won that game.
Yeah, Commies won because Taylor Heineke led the game-winning drive at the end. They won
that when
17 to
McLaurin lost the guy?
16. Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah,
That
it was
great.
17-16 was the final score. Bill Belichick defenses typically eat rookie quarterbacks for lunch.
He's not a rookie.
Sam Ehlinger is not a rookie?
I don't think so.
No. He's been in the league a while.
He's just
He's
irrelevant.
just-
This is the first time
yeah.
you've heard of him. Well,
Yeah,
not for us,
since the
'cause-
Sugar Bowl.
not for us because he couldn't beat the Terps, but he beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl and beat
They
almost
they
11.
eat
It was awesome.
quarterbacks who have made less than 5 career starts for lunch. We'll put it that way.
Samuel George Ellinger. Okay.
That sounds like a guy from Texas. That's a Texas name right there.
Give me the
He was
Patriots.
drafted in.
You can
Ellinger
see
was drafted in 2021. He was drafted in the 6th round.
the most surprising part of that sentence was he was drafted.
Huh. Thought he was undrafted.
He should have been. He sucks.
Yeah. We good on that one?
Yes.
Yes, and reminder, Texas not back.
Yes, Texas still not back. Also, the New York Jets not back. Bills favored by 12.5 points in Jersey against the Jets. And there's one thing we've been saying all season. There's one thing that we know more certain than ever about this season. It's that the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. And nobody circles wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So give me Buffalo again. Hopefully they don't fall asleep and can hold on to the big lead they're definitely going to have against the Jets.
Yeah, Bills. I mean, I don't really have much else to say. Zach Wilson sucks. Josh Allen's good. The Jets look like they're regressing real fast. The Bills are still a rocket ship on rails. They're cooking. They had a bad game this week and still won by 10. So, yeah.
Against an alleged good team as well.
Alleged is doing all the work.
Yeah. I don't love this being on the road, but give me the Bills.
All right. Vikings favored by 3.5 at the Commanders. Another easy one for me.
Kirk
Give
Cousins'
me
homecoming.
Minnesota.
Kirk
What'd you
Cousins'
say?
Revenge game, yeah.
Kirk Cousins' revenge game. Oh boy, maybe the lights might be a little brighter.
Hey, he'll actually get to play in front of fans of his team in FedEx Field.
Yeah.
Let's be fair. Back when Cousins was quarterbacking the team was competent and the fans showed up. It was after Cousins
fair.
left that it became Philly South.
Okay. Well, still picking the Vikings because, I mean, commies just is. Ooh, I don't like there's nothing here. There's so many bad teams in the league. Why are there so many bad teams?
I don't know why I'm doing this to
It's
myself.
a zero-sum game. Why are there so many bad teams?
I'm taking the Commanders.
Oh, no.
I'm not gonna do it, but I can see why. It feels like a trap game. It really does. It feels like a trap game. The Vikings are frauds. They're not really that good. They're probably smelling themselves a little bit.
Taylor Heineke is actually pretty decent.
Heineke's he's a gamer.
He
so
is
they
a
say,
gamer.
you know? Like, he actually throws.
Is he better than Kirk Cousins?
No.
I'm not gonna say that. But
I want to say it.
I want to say because I don't like Kirk Cousins, but no, Kirk Cousins is better. But like Heineke actually throws the ball to Terry McLaurin, which is refreshing.
The Commanders seem to be realizing that they actually had their guy at running back all along, and that Brian Robinson ain't it.
I'm gonna give Brian Robinson a pass because the dude got shot. Like he can stink it up this year.
Speaking of which, a 17-year-old was arrested this week in connection with that shooting.
Yeah. Good. Okay. That's good news. Anyway, I'm not ready to do it. I know Chase Young is he back? I've heard that he's back.
We also heard Texas is back.
That's also true, and that was incorrect. Horns down. But the thing is, even if Chase Young's back, it's his first game back after tearing an ACL. I can't imagine he's going to be playing full snaps.
Yeah,
I can't imagine
he practiced for the first time.
Yeah, I can't imagine he's going to be effective even if he's on the field in any capacity. He's probably going to have some struggles when he comes back, if he even comes back at all this week. I got to take the Vikings. It's intriguing. 3.5, 3 in the hook, man.
At home.
Home doesn't matter, but
no, it doesn't.
Taylor Heineke, I think he matters more than people think. I agree. Saying.
That's where I'm
just
at.
saying. I think the Vikings offense is about to find themselves getting right real fast on this bad defense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Corey, you're way out on the lonely island, like Bouvet Island or something.
I'm chilling in a boat off the shore, just kind of like maybe I'll throw him a life raft, maybe I'll save him, but I'm gonna stay out here. Evan's off, on the mainland somewhere. I'm chilling
definitely Vikings all the way. You made a good point, Eric, that this is a trap game for Minnesota at Buffalo next week. So
could be looking ahead, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Looking ahead to the 4:00 time slot, Seahawks at Cardinals, where the Cardinals are favored by 2 points in the Big Toaster.
Excuse me? What?
I know they're at home.
I don't care.
But what?
Although, I will say this. Seattle and Arizona in the Toaster concocts the stupidest games ever.
That is true.
Yes.
Seattle plays the weirdest games in general, but they up the weirdness by about 500% when they play in the Toaster.
The one thing I will say that does make this line make a little bit of sense is that DeAndre Hopkins has been phenomenal these first 2 games back. Like, he has made a huge difference. He has made Kyler Murray look like a viable starting quarterback again.
Like the number 1 pick.
Yeah.
Right?
So there is that to be said for the Cardinals. With that being said, I am taking Seattle.
Loving every minute of it, apparently.
I mean, the Flying Kingsburys can't do it.
I view this game as a true pick'em, so I got to take the 2 points.
Yeah, the Flying Kingsburys feels like, getting points or laying points for that team? You mean I get a couple points and face Kingsbury?
Right.
That feels pretty obvious to me.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Seahawks.
I'm taking Seattle as well. I am just now going down the Cardinals' schedule. They're 3-5, and their 3 wins are against the Saints in Week 7, at the Panthers in Week 4, and at the Raiders in Week 2.
Yeah, in overtime
That's
because
it.
Hunter
That's the
Renfrow
list.
fumbled twice in overtime.
Yeah.
This
So
team's not real.
and they've already lost to the Seahawks this year. So give me Seattle. in a wrong team is favored situation, honestly. What is going on here? Right? Like, no, the Cardinals are bad.
But the funny thing is we laughed our asses off at the Patriots being favored over the Jets last week.
We did.
And then the Patriots walloped the Jets. So maybe we should be a little more careful with the hate we've cast for Vegas, because they seem to know what they're doing pretty well. They're kicking our ass, or at least Cory and my ass. Maybe not Evan so much, but Evan's only tentatively ahead. So
yeah. Barely making money, having risked a lot of money, and fictional money at that. Moving on to a game that, when the schedule came out back in April, this was supposed to be, a big game. Like, it's the only 425 game on Sunday. And
this is going to be such a sad late afternoon time slot. So one 405 game and one 425 game. We're going to be watching Seattle, Arizona, the Rams, and the Buccaneers.
So what you're telling me is that...
And I'm missing most of the 1 o'clock games because I've got open house. So I get these games.
I mean, that's also going to be awkward on Red Zone, because it's like you've only got 2 games to go back and forth between.
Are we just going to be double box the whole time?
We're going to be hanging out with Hanson, assuming he's not sneaking bathroom breaks, which Evan and I firmly believe he does during the 4 o'clock time.
He's definitely not going to be allowed to this week.
Yeah, he's going to be extra sneaky. Maybe he needs to wear those the race car driver suits, so he could just cut one loose while sitting at the desk.
Jeez. Anyway, the game.
Anyway, Rams Buccaneers, where the Buccaneers are favored by 3. Get the sense that the whoever set this line is just throwing their hands in the air, just giving up on any sort of analysis or anything. And so am I. So I picked the Rams because they're getting points. That's it.
I picked the Rams because if Cooper Kupp plays, they're going to win this game. And if Cooper Kupp doesn't play, they're going to win this game. The wrong team is favored. The Buccaneers are trash.
So are the Rams, though. Rams are bad.
The only good thing the Buccaneers have is Leonard Fournette, and he's going to get he's been doing not very much recently, and he's going to get the Rams' offensive line or defensive line is going to absolutely swallow him up.
Are they?
Matt Stafford's about to get sacked 10 times, though.
So is Tom Brady.
Yeah, but Matt Stafford is a goofball who's going to point to where he throws his interceptions. Tom Brady doesn't do that.
No, Tom Brady just throws interceptions now.
He only has 1 all year.
Really?
Yeah.
Feels like more.
Well, yeah.
Feels like a lot more. It feels like he's thrown 8 or 9.
He's throwing a lot of dirt balls. He's throwing a lot of McNabbs, where he just skips the ball to a wide open receiver for inexplicable reasons. But I agree with Evan. This feels like they're just these teams are stupid. They both suck when they're not supposed to. Bucks are at home. Here's 3 points for the Rams. It feels like that's what they did. Tommy's freshly divorced. Maybe he can put that behind him. Maybe eat a meal, get a little more life in that face of his. Maybe find some inspiration. I'm gonna take the Bucks. I don't feel good about it because I don't feel good about anything involving either of these teams.
I don't think you've had a lone wolf pick in 3 weeks, at least.
Well, I'm riding with a 45-year-old divorced dad, which is probably not where I want to be.
I feel like there's a rock, satellite radio station that's sort of their vibe. Is the 45-year-old divorced dad.
Yeah, it's called Lithium. It's 90s alternative and grunge. I listen to it every day.
Oh, okay.
It's my number 1 preset.
Oh, well, there you go.
That's where you heard my boy Tom Morello. His One Man Revolution.
That the guy who's the genius.
Yeah, the smart guy that plays guitar. Yeah.
Okay, I was half asleep. It was 2 in the morning in the middle of nowhere, Virginia. Titans at Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. I'm really sorry for the Titans, just because they finally get to be on national TV, and they play on the road against 2 teams that are actually good, and they're going to get boat raced both times. I think the Chiefs roll. I've got the Chiefs laying 12.5 points. So everybody out there, y'all can go to bed early. Or if it gets to Game 7, I also looked up that there's an off day. We didn't lose the off day in the World Series with the rain out of Game 3 on Monday. So they're playing right now in Game 4. Game 5 is Thursday. The off day is now Friday, and they're going to be back in Houston, if necessary, Saturday night and Sunday night. So if there's a Game 7, I'm flipping away from this football game over to the baseball. So after saying all of that, Chiefs roll.
Well, you guys can see I already put it in the sheet. I got the Titans. 12.5 is too many. The Chiefs, I don't trust them to put up so many points that Derrick Henry's 2 touchdowns are not going to keep them within 12.5 points, because King Henry's going to find the end zone multiple times in this game. The Chiefs defense is not going to stop him. The Chiefs defense is not good.
I mean, we've seen this matchup a couple times recently, but the Titans clearly aren't as good as they used to be.
No.
The Chiefs aren't either, but they're still really good. I think, Evan, you said that the Titans have had to play 2 good teams on the road on national TV. I will add a little bit more depth to that. They've played the 2 good teams, because these are literally the only 2 good teams in the National Football League, or at least in the AFC. I'll give the Eagles their due. Everybody else is not good. They might be not bad, but they're not good. So yeah, who knows? Maybe they play the Eagles too. Play them on the road. That would be something. The Chiefs absolutely should win this game, but they've been in terms of against the spread, they've been kind of all over the place. Like, they've had some games where they stomped people out, like they did against the Bucs. That was a surprise at the time, but now looking less so, because the Bucs look like they're just a hot mess. And they stomped out the 49ers last week. And the 49ers pretend to be a good team, particularly pretend to have a good defense. And that didn't matter. But then they struggled against the Bills, but the Bills are going to win the Super Bowl, so we get that. They struggled against the Raiders, who are absolutely abysmal. They got backdoored by the Chargers at home. And the Chargers should have won the game straight up if Brandon Staley wasn't a complete dunce. But he is. So 12.5's a lot, man. And the Chiefs don't really run the ball a ton. They've tried to a little bit, but that's not really what they do. They don't play defense, as Cory said. There's a lot of space there for the Titans to sneak in and keep it within 10 points. So I'm going to roll with Tennessee.
Titans at Eagles on December 4th at 1 o'clock.
Is that on TV?
I mean, it's at 1 o'clock, so...
Maybe they'll flex it in, because, I mean, the Titans, after all, are going to be a division winner at this rate. So they're a playoff team. And the Eagles are obviously looking like a playoff team. So they could flex that to Sunday night. Why not?
Yeah.
That would be amazing.
Poor Titans.
That's
that is brutal. Alrighty, the last game of the week. Another game I'm just dreading. Ravens favored by 2.5 in the Superdome against the New Orleans Saints. Oh boy. The Ravens again only play close games, and they always play up or down to their competition, depending on how you look at it. But picking against the spread, sort of puts the up or down to the competition in the game that we're playing in this exercise. So I'm going to emotionally hedge again. Give me the Saints and the points.
I'm also taking the Saints. Alvin Kamara finally got some touchdowns this week. Maybe they're going to start using him more in the red part of the field, because he's really good in that area of the field. I mean, he's good all over the field, but he's really good in that area in the field. And
the field is green.
If they can... What?
The field's green. But
the red part of the field is like a term for the red zone.
The red area.
Yes, I know.
The red zone. Yeah.
Okay. Anyway. Kamara is going to be a difference maker in this game, I think. The Saints are playing adequate football right now. And the Ravens just are very inconsistent, and this feels like a week that they're going to be on the downside. They're going to have a little downswing, and they'll probably be leading for most of the game, and then they'll lose the lead with 39 seconds to go and lose the game.
Was the game against the Bucks an upswing type game? Because, down 10-3 at halftime.
Well, yeah, but that's the thing. As soon as they gave up those points and they were losing in the first half, I knew the Ravens were going to win because they don't trail early in games they lose. They only lose games where they fall behind for the first time in the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, they only blow leads. They don't.
Yeah. So yes, that was an upswing. They got the deficit out of their system early and took care of it.
Okay. All right, Eric, your Saints. My
Yes,
Ravens.
Against
Who
your
you got?
Ravens. Feels like we should have a side bet here cooked up, but I don't like my team this year. And I don't know if you like your team either, so
You gonna emotionally hedge?
This team is agonizing to watch.
No, I'm not going to emotionally hedge. I mean, that's to say, if I pick the Ravens, it's not an emotional hedge.
Okay.
Because I don't do that. The Saints are the Saints. They are what they are. I'm not gonna fight it. Andy Dalton does love to torment the Ravens.
No.
Yeah.
This could be a disaster.
Evan is covering his eyes.
He was an average quarterback when he was playing for the Bengals for most of his career, and now he's a thoroughly inadequate quarterback playing for a roster that is still legitimately really good. Like Chris Olave is the real deal. Cameron Jordan is still great.
Michael Thomas might play this week.
I've given up on Michael Thomas.
Alvin Kamara's really good.
Alvin Kamara's really good.
Useless. Taysom Hill is useless, but he's, decent sometimes.
Taysom Hill could be a problem. I don't know what Roquan Smith's status for this game is, if he's going to suit up for them. I imagine he probably will.
He's going to need to.
Yeah, because Patrick Queen ain't. We talked about how he can barely cover hash mark to hash mark. Alvin Kamara is going to require a little more than that, so they might need Roquan Smith just to keep this game from getting out of hand. But I'm going to go with the Saints.
Oh, God.
It feels like, in the dome, catching points, even with this inconsistent, goofy team that I'm not sure has the right head coach, definitely doesn't have the right quarterback. It feels like a recipe for disaster, trying to catch or trying to lay points going into the dome, especially for the Ravens.
Oh, jeez. Andy Dalton.
It just ruined everyone's weekend. We're dwelling out on that all damn day on Sunday. Andy Dalton. And then
Monday, too.
Yeah, it's going into work. Hey, Evan, how's your weekend? Ravens play Andy Dalton tonight. I forgot about him. I thought he was gone, and he's not.
Yeah. I legitimately, in college, had a nightmare that featured LaMar Woodley. The day the Ravens were playing the Steelers, I woke up in a cold sweat. I think I got tackled by LaMar Woodley, and it was unpleasant. Now Andy Dalton has taken over that role in my subconscious.
I'd rather get tackled by Andy Dalton than LaMar Woodley.
Yeah, that's true. But
I made it on Freezing Cold Takes, retweeted one of my tweets involving Andy Dalton years ago.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Because I joked about how Andy Dalton was incapable of leading a game-winning drive against the Ravens, and then it was like
it was you that did that.
Yeah.
This was your fault.
Of course it was. What do you think happened? Some idiot had to go out there and tweet that to make it happen. Why not me?
Oh,
why not me?
So that's the end of our football content. Jeez. So before we get out of here, let me announce that Hershey Park announced they're adding a new roller coaster in 2023.
Nice.
We have Wildcats Revenge, an RMC hybrid. It's going to be 140 feet tall, and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. 4 inversions, and the previous incarnation of Wildcat was a bumpy piece of crap that delivers more headaches than fun experiences. So now that thing is mostly gone, and we're going to be getting a absolute masterpiece, I'm thinking. So
I might have
good
to
on
make
you,
a trip to
Hershey Park,
with y'all next year.
Yeah. I mean, you should have gone this past year, but I don't know what you were getting married or something. I don't, you know, I guess that's important or whatever. But we were at Hershey Park and having a great time. So I'm gonna just exhaust myself, just back and forth between Sky Rush and Wildcats Revenge for a whole summer. I've already renewed my season pass. Eric, what do you think?
I saw I guess what's supposed to be like the design or the way it's going to look that they had on both on Instagram, and I got an email because I was a season pass holder for Hershey Park, so they made sure to let me know that Wildcats Revenge was coming in the summer of 2023. Now, does that mean that it won't be open when the park opens next spring, or
for the season? I doubt it.
Yeah.
I highly doubt it. They usually open stuff like Memorial Day time.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Like, if it's open for any length of time, my ass is going to be up there sitting in the seat on that ride and having a good old time. It looks tremendous. I did not expect it to be that big. Like, I was thinking more like, obviously Twisted Timbers is not exactly a small ride, but like I was expecting it to be of that type of scale. It looks taller than that, right? Like, what's Twisted Timbers drop? I don't know.
I think Twisted Timbers drops like 109 or something like that.
Yeah, so it was noticeably taller than that one. It looks really cool. I think they said it's like they had some fancy roller coaster term like underflip or something like that, like the largest underflip of all time.
Sure.
Which sounds wonderful. Can't wait for that. Definitely boosts the park as a whole to take your worst ride and turn it into probably one of your 2 or 3 best rides. That's definitely going to improve the experience, which was already great at Hershey Park. So your boy can't wait to get up there next summer as well.
The sweetest place on earth. Absolutely.
Milkshake was dope too.
Look no further than Iron Gwazi, right? Like the original Gwazi was 105 feet, I think. And Iron Gwazi's 206. Mm-hmm. So, and when you're MC, you can just make stuff up, right? The underflip or whatever. No idea what that is. It's completely made up.
But I thought it was like a 0G stall or something like that, but I was like, apparently it's a little different. I'm like,
it's
okay,
got a turn.
Whatever. It goes upside down and it stays there for a while, and then it goes back to right side up.
Sign me up for that.
Yep.
I will be there. Might try to go opening day and stand in a big long line. But that will do it. We have completed our sheet in another 2.5 hours. I want to shout out, before I even do the outro, Mr. Joe Carroll, who gave us a nice compliment at the Hall of Fame ceremony while Cory was running around, being honored and recording it at the same time. He said he listens regularly and he likes our content. So I'm sure the shout out on here is almost, as big of a shout out as being mentioned in David Aldridge's NBA Hall of Fame speech. But, I guess they're about there. So, gets mentioned there, gets mentioned here. It's all good. That will do it for this week's show. If you have any questions, concerns, or snide remarks, please send them to thesportsballers@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter @sportsballers18. Follow us individually on Twitter @Cory Puffett, @Quagmire67, and @Evan_Ash13. You can listen to this podcast wherever you're listening to it right now. In addition, it's on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. If we are not on your podcatcher of choice, please reach out to us in those aforementioned ways, and we will do our best to get on there. Do we have any YouTube comments? I always forget the YouTube comments because we're live on YouTube.
None today.
None today. All right. Well, y'all out there need to step that up then. We don't have any mailbag. We don't have YouTube comments. So if you are listening or sort of watching on YouTube, I encourage you to like, comment, and subscribe. So before we officially get out of here, any shout-outs from either of you guys?
Quick shout out to my cross country team, to the varsity guys. So Saeed Shakur, Jaden Keels, sorry.
Not Jalen Waddle.
No, not Jalen Waddle. He had a great week too. But no, Saeed Shakur, Jaden Keels. Our third guy was Christopher Toomer, then Graham Fenn, Ian Parsons, Tariq Harris, and James Westbrooks. Those were our varsity guys on Saturday. Congratulations to them on securing DeMatha's first cross-country WCAC title since 2006. Congratulations to Dayton Grogan and Jalen Neptune, as well as Hayden Walsh, 3 sophomores who had terrific finishes in the JV race. Dayton and Jalen went 1-2, and then Hayden finished 8th. And also to Roman Zentek, who finished 4th in the freshman race. Just a lot of really good performances from the team, including a lot of young guys. So I'm excited. It's going to be really tough to repeat next year, but we're going to be in the mix. We're going to have a pretty strong team coming back. Also, shout out to my class of 2010 classmate and fellow faculty member Richard Blorstad, who is getting married this weekend, and Rashonda and I will be in attendance on Saturday evening.
Yeah, it was good to see Richie at your wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did talk to it.
Yes, we did. I remember. I'm not sure what you were doing, Evan, other than imbibing.
I think it was earlier in the night. I think.
Well, it was the whole night, but yes, he was also there earlier in the night before you had imbibed a little too much, maybe. But no shame with that.
I didn't drive anywhere.
No, you did not, and you also left your boy hanging when I went to cookout after the.
I was exhausted.
I was too, but I still wanted cookout.
I didn't want to eat anything. I just wanted to sleep.
All right, well, whatever.
Went to King's Dominion the next day. Had to rest.
Yeah, we did, and we rode I-305 a whole bunch of times and discovered we didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, number 49.
That's. Don't show that to a bunch of these thuzies, man, that they're gonna get offended. Anyway, I guess it's my turn to do shout outs. I've got a couple on the list. Again, shout out to Joe Carroll, as Evan said. I was gonna mention him, but Evan got me on that one. He also roasted Cory a little bit when Cory wasn't there to defend himself, which is the best time to roast people.
What did he say?
He just said something like, well, Cory can go on and on sometimes on the podcast, and I was like, that's true about all of us, though. So that's how we roll. But I think he was just he had a big old laugh after he said it, so he was just kidding around. So I've got a couple of shout outs to JK Movers. This is the moving company that I tapped to move all of my crap to my new house, and boy howdy, they were incredible. Like the whole time through, the people on the phone setting it up were great. The guys getting me the estimate for it were great. The movers were absolutely spectacular. Like, these guys were not even that big. Like, they were not big and strong, or they were obviously very strong, but they were not swole. They were not, like, ginormous humans. They were just normal-sized dudes carrying all my crap up 3 to 4 flights of steps for hours, and they didn't even seem like they were breaking a sweat. When I offered them water, they said, "You got Pepsi?" I gave them Pepsi. I'm like, "You're drinking Pepsi while doing this much exercise?" They're like, "Yeah, we don't care." And they got it done, and they were incredible. And now all my crap is at my new house, and it's great. So thank you guys. Appreciate all the hard work you guys did that I didn't have to do because I'm not fit for that kind of stuff. And second shout out, I guess third shout out because I kind of copied Evan's shout out. Shout out to Pat Hoberg. Most people probably have no idea who that is.
Including me.
I didn't know who he was until Game 2 of the World Series when Pat Hoberg was the plate umpire, and Pat Hoberg called a perfect game behind the plate. No missed balls or strike calls. None. Got all of them correct within the league-dictated strike zone.
Wow.
So we give the umpires a lot of grief when they mess it up. We call for them to be replaced by robots.
And
we gotta give you your due when you do literally a perfect job. So Pat Hoberg, good for you, man. Keep fighting the good fight. For every Angel Hernandez, we need you to counterbalance it to maybe make us not hate umpires so much. You rule. Hopefully next time you also call a perfect game, or at least something that's not absolutely terrible.
Which game was this?
Game 2.
Game 2. Okay.
Yes.
In Game 4, the Astros are still up 5-0. We're in the 7th inning now. Is that it? Are we done?
Mm-hmm.
I guess so. Yeah. It's been 2.5 hours and I'm tired.
Yes.
Let's get out of here. Email, Twitter, all that. YouTube. We also have a Facebook page. We're not as active on there, I don't think, but I almost never go on Facebook, so I don't know. So yeah, thank you all so much for listening, and we will talk to you next week here on the Sports Ballers Podcast.